Podcasting the truth.
Adam Curry, John C. Dvorak.
It's Thursday, April 30th, 2020. This is your award-winning Gimbo Nation Media Assassination episode 1238.
This is No Agenda.
Reading clinical trials and broadcasting live from Opportunity Zone 33 here in the frontier of Austin, Texas, capital of the Drone Star State. In the morning, everybody. I'm Adam Curry.
And from northern Silicon Valley, where the Zephyr went by already with 7 cars, things are looking up. I'm John C. Dvorak.
It's Crackpot and Buzzkill in the morning.
Woo! So we have 1 car more than the last show.
Yes, exactly.
This is good, man. I'm so happy about this.
Well, we'll see what happens.
I mean, everything is looking so good, except it can't be. Have you noticed that?
Well, they've shut us down for another month.
I know this. What is going on, man? Tell me what's happening, because we're opening tomorrow.
Well, good.
So tell me, what's the story?
We got the phone call. You get a phone call.
Yeah.
And it's just a lousy call. It sounds like somebody edited it. Hello, patrons of Alameda County. We have extended the stay-at-home orders until May 31st. You are required to, then they get through the list of stuff. I'd like to get a tape of it, but...
So what is the...
Please press 1 to acknowledge receipt of this call.
And you have to press 1 to acknowledge receipt?
Well, you can or you don't have to. I don't know what you're
Oh
do
my
about
God.
It
That's crazy. There's almost like there's nothing going on in California.
I know.
The mortality rate is low, the actual case count is low, the death count is low.
Well, they did have that one funny part of the message at the end.
Mm-hmm.
We will lift the orders if you vote Democrat.
Ah!
We will lift the orders if you vote Democrat.
I'm sure they did.
Except for that part. Everything else is pretty kosher.
Well, we are opening up tomorrow here in Texas. Here is the governor, who I like for a lot of reasons. I really don't think he's a good speaker. My goodness. He doesn't do well with the speaking, but here's where we're at for tomorrow, which will be May 1st in Austin.
My executive order to stay at home that was issued last month is set to expire on April the 30th. That executive order has done its job to slow the growth of COVID-19, and I will let it expire as scheduled. Now, it's time to set a new course, a course that responsibly opens up business in Texas. Obviously, not all businesses can open all at once. A more strategic approach is required to ensure that we don't reopen only to have to close down again. We will open Texas businesses in phases. Phase 1 begins this Friday, May 1st. All retail stores, restaurants, movie theaters, and malls can reopen May the 1st. Now, to minimize the spread of COVID-19 during Phase 1, on the advice of doctors, I am limiting occupancy to no more than 25%. The extent to which this order opens up businesses in Texas supersedes all local orders. If Phase 1 works while containing COVID-19, Phase 2 will expand that occupancy to 50%. This order allows these businesses to reopen.
Okay. I said he's shitty. I can't help that. But we are one of the first states to open, one of the first places to open with restaurants. This 25% is very interesting. I'm not sure how you do that in a restaurant, so...
I don't either.
I called up Lonesome Dove and made a reservation for Friday, as they are one of the... I think yesterday there was probably 15 restaurants listed, and I'm like, well, if it's Lonesome Dove, and I said, hey, we have limited availability, whatever that meant. So we have a table at, I think, 6 or 6:30. And he said, and I said, hey, thank you guys for doing this. It's great. It's good that you're opening up. He said, yeah, we're going to keep everybody as safe as possible, seat everybody 6 feet apart, and we're really going to ask everybody to keep wearing their masks until food is served.
Oh, brother.
And I said, why don't we just put trash bags on her head? Wouldn't that be better? So it's...
I want to stop here because most of these municipalities have this kind of the same rule. You wear the mask when you're not 6 feet apart.
Yeah, that's the whole idea, isn't it?
Yeah. If you're 6 feet apart, you don't need the mask.
Anyway, it didn't sound like they were going to enforce it too much, but I will have a report on Sunday, of course. Regardless, this move by the governor is a real problem for liberal cities in Texas, such as Austin. Really, it's very worrying. Actually, a little disappointing. Here is the response from our mayor in Austin, Adler.
I think the overwhelming impression from most of the mayors is that they wish that the governor had waited another 2 or 3 weeks to do this.
2 or 3 weeks.
So that we would be in a better place with testing, a better place with tracking, a better place.
Travis County Judge Sarah Eckhart says locally, we do not meet the federal guidelines for opening back up with only a week of declining case numbers.
Additionally, we've seen a tripling of the number of deaths in the last 2 weeks, which certainly does not meet the gating criteria of a 2-week decline.
She's saying it. What, the numbers or the actual?
You can't say tripling. It could have gone from 1 to 3.
The point was, well, here it is. The point is, the official guidelines say you should have 2 weeks of decline, but these death rates, they come over the weekend and they're much higher because they don't count them. They don't release them until Monday. So it's. We all know that this is bull crap. They're counting broken toenails as COVID.
In the last 2 weeks, which certainly does not meet the gating criteria of a 2-week decline in death rate.
County commissioners expressed fears that if cases spike again, they may have to shut the community back down.
But I understand that it's just horrible for the economy and for so many people who've lost their jobs and can't pay bills.
So
but
keep it shut down.
I don't have a clear sense for how you try and retreat once you've gone forward to reopening.
The city and county say they are working to draft up a new order of their own that would provide stricter guidelines for staying safe, even though it would not override the state mandate.
And you heard Abbott say specifically, this supersedes everything, every local order, and here they are. Well, it's not an official order, but we're going to give you stink eye if you don't do what we say. Dickheads. And people are ready for it. This is up.
And by the way, I want to point out what that woman said. She says, I don't know how you retreat if you have to go back to the... what do you mean? What is she talking about? You just tell people to go back to closing these businesses. What do you mean you don't know how to? Did you hear her say that?
Yes, I heard it, and I think she does not know because she knows what the citizens are thinking, such as this woman who has a hair salon not far from Dallas.
Yes. Rally cries. Open Texas.
Open Texas now!
A crowd of people gathered in Frisco choosing to ignore social distancing practices Saturday afternoon. They believe reversing the fall of the state's economy is the top priority.
Open Texas now!
A feeling shared by salon owner Shelley Luther.
And if they want to lock those doors, I'll put chairs out here and my stylist can work on the patio, gladly.
She was served a citation from the city of Dallas and a cease and desist letter from Dallas County Judge Clay Jenkins on Friday. Still, she says she's not leaving. A line formed again before she opened again on Saturday. It's unclear what actions officials will take.
Everything's been vague because they're all looking at each other saying, what do we do? Because this is unprecedented.
She's had steady lines of support.
She's, fighting the good fight for all of us. As a business owner, every single day matters. It's utterly agonizing to look at a pile of bills and get more bills and know that you're getting further and further behind.
People, they're done with it. They want out. They want to be free. And Texas is probably a good example of what it means to be an American. I'm going to go out on a limb here.
Here we go.
I'm going. Get your foam finger number one.
This one coming.
Get your foam finger number one ready. Here we go. Freedom, which we have here in America, it's in the Constitution, is risky. It comes with some risk. And that's why America is fantastic. And we, I think from the beginnings. Assess the risk and go for it or not. We have a lot of dumb heroes in America. The movies are filled with it. A lot of guys rush in, die, and they're the hero. But I think everyone feels this way in Texas. I can't speak for all of America, but I'm hearing the same from people in California who, like you, are baffled that you're going to be closed another month. Christina told me that in Rotterdam or in the Netherlands, things will ease up at the end of May, but sports clubs, restaurants, small shops may not open until September. And this is why you hear our sheriff here say, I don't know what to do. I don't know how you shut them down once they're gone. Because you can't. Because we won't go. And we figured it out. I have a little time. I have a little timeline that I just wrote down. I'd just like to.
Well, okay.
Go ahead.
I wanted to interrupt and mention a couple of things about California since you brought it up.
Sure.
One, the beaches are open in Southern California, even though they're going to try to shut them down again, which means beaches are open. Woohoo!
Well, if you would give me 1 second with this news.
Yes, the beaches are back open. Woohoo! Yeah.
I'm fast. Not that fast.
Yeah.
But Newsom is irked about it because even though the place was half empty, you're still irked. I think there's actually just off the top of my head, it's a scam of sorts. They're shutting down the state for another month so Newsom can be the big hero and come in as the governor and open things up in about a week or two.
Oh, good point. That would make sense. It's a risky strategy, though, because people are, you can push people so far, and I think they're on edge. You and I are pretty easy because this is our life anyway.
All right, we're media exempt. Hello.
No, but in general, my life has not changed too drastically. I realized yesterday I've been at home for 6 weeks. Of course, I've been out to do some shopping, but I'm like, it didn't feel like anything extra special. It's like, it's my life. We have a deck, so I'm lucky. I get to sit outside and get my vitamin D.
One of the Hollywood celebrities.
But people are
suffering.
People are on edge. And you know what's happening? And actually, this is California. This is the kind of stuff that's going to happen more and more, and they'll get more aggressive until people get back to life.
2 women, Carmelita Barella and Rosetta Shabazz, have been arrested on federal charges in connection to using a cough as a weapon during a robbery back on April 6, 2020, inside a Walgreens in San Francisco's Tenderloin neighborhood. FBI Special Agent in Charge, John Bennett.
When they were approached by store personnel, they began to cough, pretty aggressively, and then they told everybody that they had COVID, and so in their own words, they were telling people they were positive for this virus.
FBI investigators say these crimes are a part of a disturbing trend nationwide.
Oh, I don't know about that being a trend nationwide, but if it is, it just proves my point. Now, I think it's interesting to think that Gavin Newsom wants to come in a week as the hero. What I'm seeing is certainly New York, and I would presume that Gavin Newsom wants to do something similar for the state of California. And Illinois, they need money. They're broke. It's probably cheaper for Illinois to keep people at home, and I don't think most people even gotten their unemployment checks in Illinois yet. It's cheaper for them to keep everybody at home than try to keep the city running. I think that's true.
In other words, the city, everyone goes back to work and we start losing money more.
Well, I think that's the way they see it. So now we're seeing these questions pop up about bailouts, and I think Trump is open to it. But this is where he has all the leverage, and this came up in the Tuesday briefing, which I still follow religiously since no one reports on them properly. Here is also this is another interesting little side note, although he doesn't answer that, about universal basic income. Probably a desire of some of these Democratic governors.
What about the idea of another round of stimulus payments to American taxpayers directly? Democrats, of course, up on the Hill are talking about the idea of a guaranteed income, which obviously could go on for months and months and months. Yeah. What about another round of
Well, I like the idea of payroll tax cuts. I've liked that from the beginning.
So he's doing this Pence move, the pulling the Pence, Because clearly the guy wanted to have everybody just get a check and stay home, but he's just like, yeah, I think we should get people more money by cutting their taxes. Not even doesn't even address the actual question.
What about another round of?
Well, I like the idea of payroll tax cuts. I've liked that from the beginning. That was a thing that I really would love to see happen. A lot of economists would agree with me. A lot of people agree with me. And I think, frankly, it's simple. It's not the big distribution, and it would really be an incentive for people to come back to work and for employers to hire. The double tax on the company and also on the person. That's what I like. And something like that could happen. Also, I think you have to look, because a lot of people are talking, I assume your next question would be about states. And Steve and I talk about it, and I talk about it with Mitch and with Kevin and with everybody. And the problem with the states is we're not looking to recover 25 years of bad management and to give them the money that they lost. That's unfair to other states. Now, if it's COVID related, I guess we can talk about it. But we'd want certain things also, including sanctuary city adjustments, because we have so many people in sanctuary cities, which I don't even think are popular, even by radical left folks, because what's happening is people are being protected that shouldn't be protected, and a lot of bad things are happening with sanctuary cities. But that's just standing up here answering this question. That's one of the things I think about. If we were going to do something for the states, I think they'd probably want something having to do with sanctuary cities, something having to do with other different points that we can discuss a little bit later on.
Hold on a second.
He's got the leverage.
He not only pulled a Pence,
yeah,
but he didn't answer the first question, but then he asked himself. He asked the
he gave himself the follow-up. It was good, yeah.
For the guy. I assume that your next question is,
yeah.
And then he answered some vague question, nothing to do with anything. It was about sanctuary cities. Wow, he's finally learning a little bit there.
Yeah, and I wanted to point out, because I got so much pushback on the previous show trying to read through what Trump was getting at with the disinfectant and the ultraviolet light, and I don't understand why, if I just have a different interpretation of something someone said, and I'm trying to work through that, why people are angry or disappointed. It's very odd to me. And
you didn't have you weren't interpreting it. You were just playing it.
Well, I was interpreting some, but yes, but verbatim, we played it. And people get very, and of course you get the Trump apology and all that. Let me just say, here's what chicken shit people do. They always disclaim it. I don't like everything he does, but, and I'm not going to do that. When I don't like something, I'll say I didn't like it. When I think it's good, I think it's good. People want us to just rail on this guy, and I'm like, turn on the fucking TV. You got enough there.
Oh, that's a good point. You made this point to some guy who quit the show. He says, I'm sick of you guys. All you do is apologize for Trump. You never say anything bad about Trump. I've had it.
And by the way, it's two different things. Apologizing or saying something bad are two different things. But
you said, if you want that, just turn on the TV.
Yeah.
Turn on Jimmy Kimmel. Listen to his monologue.
And the second part is we're very inconsistent, because if this was Obama, we would have done it differently.
That's not true. In fact, we were one of the few podcasts that went on about how Obama wants to do the right thing in many instances and being forced not to. We had a very interesting take on Obama, and it was a very positive one.
We made a lot of fun of
him.
And Muslim. We made a lot of fun of him.
And a Muslim. Well, a Muslim. He is a Muslim. There's no doubt about that.
We made a lot of fun of him, that's for sure. But that's what. Okay, and one more thing. Trump handles everything like a CEO. CEOs, or the brilliant captains of industry as they're known, and some are actually really brilliant, some aren't. It's always debatable. A lot of them are weird. Zuckerberg, Jobs, Elon Musk, Bill Gates, Larry and Sergey. We can go on. A lot of them are weird, so they communicate in weird ways. What's the guy from Barry? Come on. He owns all the dating sites.
Oracle?
No. Barry. Come on.
Barry Switzer?
No. Now it doesn't. Not Sartoro. Barry Diller. Sartoro.
Barry Diller?
People got Sartoro. Yeah, Barry Diller's another one of these a-hole guys. I heard from 3 different people when just before they fired, 15 or 20% of all of his company staff, he came in to talk about how, the company was, the future, whatever it was, like a Rose Garden speech. And all he does is talk about his own issues and his crap, and he couldn't build out on the pier and the East River. And everyone says the guy's an asshole, but the company runs well. So anyway, take that for what it is.
But a lot of it, yeah.
I don't have to defend myself. I just want people to.
All we do is deconstruct the news. It just so happens that Trump is being lambasted and called a Clorox drinker and all this other stuff, and we deconstruct it, look at it, and say, no, he's not a Clorox drinker. He's never told people to shoot Lysol into their veins. It's nonsense, but they keep saying it.
I could go in 3 different directions right now. I'll just play a teaser of Nicole Wallace saying exactly what you just said.
And it was a room like that in which the president of our country told people to ingest bleach.
He told people to ingest bleach. No, he didn't.
Yeah. No, anyway. He didn't. When was this?
Anyway.
And he's never used the brand names Clorox or Lysol, I might add.
No. But let's talk about some brand names and some generic names, because we had more good news besides I feel it's good that Texas is opening up. We'll take the hit. We'll take the risk. We'll let you know how it is here at the front line. I'll go in the restaurant. Woo! So scary. So scary.
You're a pioneer.
That's a pioneer. A pioneer, ladies and gentlemen. So I just wrote down a quick little timeline of the pharmaceutical aspect of this. Scientific / pharmaceutical. Let's start with our lockdown that was based on a model that was changed 4 times, downgrading from 2 million potential dead in the United States to 61,000. And even if you believe that initial 2 million down to 200,000 didn't have the mitigation built into it, which is a lie because it did.
It was built in.
Fine. I would like to add the model, which was created by Neil Ferguson, was based on 13-year-old undocumented code by his own admission. But very quickly, hydroxychloroquine in combination with zinc and also the Z-Pack was promoted by Trump. Immediate pushback from everybody. We followed it for weeks. The media, this is nuts. It's unfounded. Who knows? Trump is trying to kill you. And of course, we had some lady try to kill her husband, although we only know that now. But people were drinking a fish cleaner. So that's how the media responded from the get-go. And I think we talked about it. What can someone just say, hey, this could be good news. This could be very exciting. We might have something that we could treat people with while we're waiting for the vaccine. That didn't happen. No trials were funded because it's not worth it. The market price is already set. It's less than $1. So that it's very uninteresting. And you can't jack that up because you got people with other diseases like lupus and malaria, of course, what it's intended for. So you can't make, so it's non-starter and they don't care. And we knew from the beginning, we heard Gilead. From the beginning, all from Fauci, we heard remdesivir. Right out of the get-gate. The get-gate is a new one. So a week ago, well, I'll play this first because this happened yesterday. Unlike the possibility that some good studies out of France and Italy and other countries about hydroxychloroquine, no, that's been shoved to the background, and you never heard exciting news. It could be a treatment. But yesterday, this happened.
Hi, Scott. Yes, this is just coming out of a pool report on some comments that Dr. Fauci just made, and he actually seems to be detailing some of the results from that NIAID trial of remdesivir. He says, quote, it's quite good news. He says that, so the primary endpoint of the trial was the time to improvement, and we know that the study met that goal. Dr. Fauci, according to the pool report, saying the time to improvement was 11 days compared with 15 days on placebo, saying that 31% 1% improvement is, quote, very important. He's saying that this is a drug that can block this virus. He also, according to this pool report, notes the mortality rate trended better, 8% in the treatment group versus 11% in the placebo group. He's saying when you know a drug works, you have to let people in the placebo group.
That's a pretty damn small difference between placebo and the control group. Okay.
In the placebo group. He's saying when you know a drug works, you have to let people in the placebo group know so they can take it. That comment probably explains why we got these results earlier than expected from the NIH. We weren't expecting this trial to read out until the end of May. We're also learning from the pool report that Fauci has compared this to when they first found HIV drugs. He's saying this will be the standard of care. So this is the announcement that NIH had planned to make later today. The president, I guess, told Dr. Fauci to describe this just now, and we'll bring you, of course, any more news that we get. But this is the first read of that positive NIH study on Gilead's remdesivir. And guys, this Dr. Gottlieb saying this drug could get FDA emergency use authorization immediately based on these results. So very encouraging news.
Very encouraging. Completely the opposite of hydroxychloroquine. We really don't have any details, but we got some data. The data won't be available till the end of May. There's no peer-reviewed study on this, but yet we're all in. And we might want to remember that the media is mainly living off of, certainly now, pharmaceutical advertisements. So it would make sense that they got a little push because this is very exciting, of course. What's odd is that just a week ago, remdesivir came out with very disappointing news that there was no positive news from their initial clinical trials. The stock started to sink, and I have a report from a week ago. No, it didn't tank. It was sinking. It did not tank.
It was about to tank.
No, it was sinking. I wrote this word down specifically because I thought tank would be incorrect. It was sinking.
Okay.
1 week ago, this is the results that were considered to be poor and possibly tanking the stock from CNN. This is a doctor.
How optimistic should we be at this stage, Elizabeth?
Julia, I wouldn't be optimistic at all. I think we should maintain an even outlook. Could this drug be useful? Absolutely. Could it turn out to be useless? Absolutely. Let me tell you what happened, and then let me talk to you a bit about what happened during the Ebola times, because I think it's a good comparison. What happened was that there was a video conference, as many of us are doing these days, about this drug. The University of Chicago doctors were involved, and it was taped, and somebody leaked that tape to Stat, which is a health news website. And in that tape, we're told, now Stat didn't post the tape, but they wrote about it, and they said that all sorts of positive things were said, that the patients were recovering more quickly, that few of them were dying, and that there was a general sort of positive and rosy outlook expressed by this doctor. But what this is really is office chatter. And we all work in offices, and we all know that in offices you get chatter that turns out to be true, and you get chatter that turns out to be nothing. So the fact that these doctors said this does not mean much. And the reason why is that sometimes patients with COVID do well. As a matter of fact...
Okay, I'm not going to play the whole thing, but the important part was the only hearsay, analytical, anecdotal results from that trial was people recovered 4 to 5 days earlier. And that was considered disappointing. That is exactly what is now by Dr. Fauci considered to be extremely exciting and promising, so much so that he is willing to put his seal of approval on it a month before the actual data comes out.
And all of the other trials that are taking place now have a new standard of care. So we would have normally waited several days until the data gets further, dot the I and cross the T. But the data are not going to change. Some of the numbers may change a little, but the conclusion will not change.
So he's all in on that. Now, as a small aside, I probably should mention that Dr. Fauci, together with Dr. Birx, pioneered and led for years, almost 2 decades now, more than that, almost 35 years, the HIV mission within the health, the National Institute of Health. And if you know, we spoke on the show many times about 8 years ago, a new treatment came out to treat HIV, make you virtually virus-free or undetectable. Please wear a condom, even though you take our drug, because you never know. That is Truvada. So that is a Gilead drug. So that's why he even mentioned himself earlier that, you know, it was the other doctor said, you know, it's just kind of like AIDS. Yeah, because this is following the same path. And the same company and the same
how's that
people.
vaccine doing for AIDS, by the way?
Well, here's what I think. The vaccine for AIDS is not going to happen. But here, well, let me just go down the list a little bit, and then I got one or two more clips, and then we're done. So remdesivir is back on. It does something. We don't know how well it does. And actually, I do have to play this report because there's one more clue. This is from NBC. Same kind of excitement. Just excited. Can't believe it. It's so great.
This morning, a promising option for treating the sickest coronavirus patients. With President Trump's urging, the FDA appears poised to approve the use of remdesivir, an antiviral that has shown positive signs during clinical trials led by the NIH.
It is a medicine that prevents the virus from growing.
What it is proven is that a drug can block this virus.
Dr. Anthony Fauci, the nation's lead infectious disease expert, saying there is clear-cut evidence it works.
We think it's really opening the door to the fact that we now have the capability of treating, and I can guarantee you, as more people, more companies, more investigators get involved, it's going to get better and better.
The NIH trial involved nearly 1,100 patients worldwide. So far, remdesivir has accelerated median recovery times from 15 to 11 days. And at 8%, the mortality rate is lower than the 11.6% for those who received a placebo.
This is remdesivir versus placebo.
Leading the charge for the global trial, Emory University Hospital, which had more patients than any other site. We've been in contact for several weeks with the top researcher there, Dr. Anish Mehta.
We've now found that remdesivir has a significant effect, and so we do want to make sure that we offer it to all the patients that would qualify and would get benefit from it.
It's important to note remdesivir is not for everybody. It's for the sickest of the sick in the hospital ICU. It's only treatable or usable, I should say, in an IV form. You're not going to see this in a pill form at the local pharmacy. The NIH says its study still needs to be peer-reviewed. Gilead Sciences is ramping up production of the med. And now researchers want to know how effective it is in combination with other drugs, and might that be even more helpful?
Very interesting. This is being run. I love this. They just jam it through. It's perfect for the pharmaceutical industry, perfect for the hospitals because it's not a pill. You're dying. You got to go in. It's the last one. It's also $1,000 per treatment, so that works out well for them. And I think because this is clearly a pharmaceutical hospital system based treatment. This is part of the reason that those two California emergency doctors were vilified. I mean, they weren't just vilified; they were taken off of YouTube. This is Dr. Erickson and his colleague.
We played clips from them last show.
We did. Took them off of YouTube. We had a joint statement from the California physicians. And I happen to know a little bit not about these two doctors specifically, but their situation. They run an emergency medical center. And by coincidence, I know about the emergency medical centers, I guess by state, or certainly there's probably a national organization. They have their own club. And the biggest problem they have is the hospitals hate them. Because hospitals have so many more regulations over what you can do in one of these emergency care centers. And for people who don't know, if in America you drive by a strip mall and there'll be all of a sudden you see like an emergency room you can go in for your broken leg or for whatever else, you can go in for any treatment. But these are independent. And so these guys own not just that one, but a couple of them. And and the hospital, the doctors came out and said, these guys are clearly just trying to promote it for their own financial benefit. There's nothing in the science that proves any of this is true. So they really just
all they were doing is
hammered
reading
them.
statistics. What is he talking about?
I know. So I think while Bill Gates is over here with everybody working on the vaccine, I have a feeling because of the fast track FDA, because of what you heard there, Trump's endorsement, I think he cut a deal. So, all right, good. You do this, we promote this. He may not even say anything about hydroxy anymore. It's very possible. But this means we're moving ahead. We can open up because we have a fix. We have a cure. We have something. Never mind the fact that hydroxychloroquine may actually have some prophylactic features, and this drug doesn't. But I think that's what happened. And now he is going to leverage this. He has all the leverage over Fauci. We'll talk about that much later. I'm sure when we get to China and the lab. I think this is a good sign. I think it means full speed ahead. And I have from this answer your question a little bit better. Where'd this come from? From Bloomberg. The Trump administration is organizing a Manhattan Project-style effort to drastically cut the time needed to develop a coronavirus vaccine with the goal of making enough doses for most Americans by year's end, called Operation Warp Speed.
Oh, brother.
Warp Speed. Space Force. The program will pull together private pharmaceutical companies, government agencies, and the military to try to cut the development time for a vaccine by as much as 8 months. According to people familiar with the matter. Take that.
How's
for what
that
it's
AIDS
worth.
vaccine coming, by the way?
Well, it appears to be very hard just to find and locate the virus, HIV. It's always been a complicated thing. Yeah. To wrap this up, from our No Agenda pharmacist, you may recall he was creating a protocol for his emergency doctors in the hospital system where he works. He, of course, followed up with me once the remdesivir news came out. Adam, my trial got killed because of the bull crap VA study. And now Fauci is saying that remdesivir is a clear-cut winner and game changer based off pretty much a press release by Gilead. Trial results won't be ready until May. We're being robbed of HCQ, that's hydroxychloroquine, clinical trials.
Well, you can, yeah, but they can still use it. A lot of doctors are prescribing it anyway.
Yes, the clinical trials he's being robbed of. That part is gone. Clearly, these guys strung me along long enough to delay the trial and then abruptly killed it off based off this bullcrap retrospective study in the VA that wasn't peer-reviewed, didn't show durations of therapy, dosing, and the sickest of the sick received HCQ compared to the control group. Bias everywhere. Interestingly, if you look at that report...
Wait a minute. Did he say that they were giving him HCQ in addition to the other stuff?
He had a protocol. He had a protocol with zinc. Yeah, it wasn't just HCQ. He had a protocol.
No, I'm talking about the remdesivir.
Remdesivir, at the very end of the report, you heard they would be probably trying it with other drugs, which to me means if it
HCQ.
No, zinc probably. HCQ is really only opening things up to get the zinc in. That's what I understand.
I'm not sure that's what the case is. I think they work together.
They work together. Neither of us have any business discussing that. Our no agenda pharmacists will tell us
what they're actually prescribing and what's actually working based on anecdotal information, which nobody wants to base anything on.
So he sent me the VA study, which is not peer reviewed. Half the people in there are on the Gilead payroll. It's really interesting, and again, it's not peer reviewed. But here's the thing that he wrote in addition that I thought was kind of scary, or interesting at best. My current hypothesis about the virus is that it is an immune modulator that stimulates a cytokine storm, which we know it does, and that's your own immune system freaking out, that either throws your lungs into acute respiratory disease syndrome, and then they turn into stiff, thick, gray sacks of fibrin and clots in your lungs. Or your blood ends up clotting from the systemic inflammation and you stroke out or have a heart attack. And we've heard reports of that. And he sent along a document of an autopsy with pictures, I might add, which will be in the show notes for you, of the lungs of some unfortunate person who got all this clotting, and you can really see what's going on inside these lungs. And he says he's continuing with his protocol. It's just there's no longer a funded trial, and he's going to continue to keep us updated on what's happening. And then the other people, wacky people like Trump in Australia, former Member of Parliament Clive Palmer, he's still all in on hydroxychloroquine.
He's tried big cars and big billboards. Now Clive Palmer's big splash, announcing he spent big cash. The former MP claiming he's purchased nearly 33 million doses of hydroxychloroquine, an anti-malaria drug that's been trialled on COVID-19 and championed by Donald Trump.
May work, may not work. I feel good about it. That's all it is, just a feeling. I'm a smart guy. I feel good about it.
Since then, studies in America and France showed the drug had little impact on coronavirus patients.
Lie. That's a lie. France had exactly the opposite, had a positive result.
That's a complete... How can somebody just go on and lie like that? Okay, if somebody's doing that, that means there is an agenda.
Yeah.
And why would anybody... these reporters... Let's just start with this. They're not getting paid. They don't get a check from Gilead. They're not getting money under the table to lie like this.
What are you talking?
I can assure you.
What are you talking about? They're getting money in the form of ads, and they're being told to.
The reporters get none of that money.
They keep their job, and they're told to stay in line.
Yeah, well, that's about all it amounts to. But they can keep their job other ways. I mean, if they were bonusing the guy for lying, I would say, well, there you go. What are you going to do? It's just the way it goes. But no, this guy is lying for he's just lying. It's just amazing to me.
Is it
not that I'm mercantile about this?
No.
And I think you need to get paid to be a liar. But I think you need to be paid to be a liar.
Is it possible that there was no research done and they're just taking whatever the New York Times wrote?
Yes.
Okay. Second, I have a question. You mentioned that even if they don't do what their boss tells them, they have other ways to keep their job. Does that involve some kind of sexual favors, or what is your thinking on that?
Yes, they have to give blowjobs.
Okay. It's media, after all.
It's media. What do you expect, especially in broadcasting?
America and France showed the drug had little impact on coronavirus patients, while last week a Brazilian study was halted when 16 people died after being administered high doses of hydroxychloroquine.
Interestingly, in Brazil, they have extremely low numbers. They have a mortality rate that's between 2 and 3.
Main risk we're worrying about is it affects the electrical conduction system in the heart if you're in high doses, so you can suddenly have what we call an arrhythmia and effectively a heart attack that kills you.
Goes completely against what our no agenda pharmacist just said. He says it's because of clotting, because of the continual severe infection. This guy's talking about the electrical system?
Effectively a heart attack that kills you.
At this time of national crisis in our country, Mr. Palmer is quoted, all Australians must do whatever they can to help their fellow Australians.
I have thanked him, and he's made a very generous offer to the National Medical Stockpile. It's being assessed on 2 fronts.
Those fronts will be an expert panel and clinical trials. But American authorities are warning against stockpiling hydroxychloroquine, saying it could lead to a shortage for those that actually need the drug for malaria, lupus...
What? What did you say?
Why would anyone need that drug?
And rheumatoid arthritis.
We really have to be very thoughtful and make sure we follow the science and the evidence.
Clive Palmer declined to comment, letting his ads do the talking today.
I thought it was interesting that he bought 33 million. And we've had so many 33s.
Oh, is it 33? The magic number?
33 million. Yeah, exactly.
So you couldn't buy 35 million or 30 million or...
Actually, it was the report said 33. I think it was 2,900,000 and 2,900,000. It's very close to 33. Very close. There's lots more to talk about, but I think we should mix it up a little bit. I know I'd like to have some fun.
We're just on this topic because you brought up Ferguson a minute ago. And so I found this clip of Katie Hopkins, who is the ex-LBC commentator, right-wing woman who's British, who mocks everything, and she does everything in a mocking style. And so she did this thing, kind of a condemnation of this Ferguson guy, the Imperial College. And I retweeted it, or I posted it, or retweeted it on Twitter, and I immediately get a bunch of people coming back at me with ad hoc attacks on Katie Hopkins, not questioning what she had to say. She's a racist. And I'm always amused by this. Is that the argument that most people have now? They don't even listen to what somebody has to say.
It's easy just to throw out racist. Done. Done. It's easy.
Well, here's the clip because I think it's amusing.
Clearly, I'm not a doctor, and I've never pretended to be. I don't have a fold-up bicycle, for example. I don't feel the need to wear scrubs in the street. And indeed, I've never voted Labour. I don't read The Guardian. But let me introduce you to a scientist I think we should all be asking questions about. His name is Professor Neil Ferguson of Imperial College. He runs models, not beautiful women, models, statistical models, where he tells people how many deaths he thinks there's going to be from a pandemic or other crisis. Neil Ferguson says lifting the lockdown could cost 100,000 lives in the UK, and he's the guy the government are listening to right now, which is why we're still under this infernal house arrest that everybody seems to be clapping their frying pans about. Let's look at some of Neil Ferguson's work in the past and see how accurate it's been. For bird flu, he estimated, using his very sophisticated models, there might be 200 million deaths globally. There were, in fact, 282. When it came to swine flu, Professor Ferguson used his brilliant models, and he estimated there could be 65,000 deaths in the UK. There were, in fact, 457. Again, with mad cow disease, a disease that I can relate to, between 50 and 50,000 deaths in the UK, he said, and the correct answer was 177. And for COVID, he came out and said there may be 500,000 deaths. He's now saying there may be 100,000 if lockdown ends. And of course, we have no way of knowing right now how many deaths there will be. But it seems that Neil Ferguson is prone to exaggeration. He's kind of like Gemma Collins on hormone replacement therapy. Other scientists have challenged his thinking as well, unsurprisingly. They say at best his models are crude estimations containing serious errors. So questions remain. Why aren't the mainstream media asking these questions? Why are we listening to this man who's about as accurate as my 5-year-old trying to wee standing up?
Very British. Yeah. Yeah, it's... We're not going to hear about this anymore. It's over. We're moving beyond this point. Maybe there'll be some postmortem, some review over time. I think a lot of things will change. The players will change. Fauci's going to come under all kinds of scrutiny. But what we will have first is the political aspect. We will have the Democrats in the United States, and this is happening everywhere. It's happening to Boris Johnson, all political parties. It's kicked off. It's politics season. Who gives a crap? We've got remdesivir. Billy Boy's on the vaccine. Let's go get Trump out of office. So let's make him look like a shit. Pelosi goes on with Tapper and discusses, what he did and did he do it right or wrong, and the shutdown. Wasn't that a good thing he did with that keeping flights from coming in from China, Nancy?
Vice President Joe Biden's campaign told me earlier this month.
What did he say that? Did you hear that flub? What did he say? Vice President, hold
on. Vice President Joe Biden's campaign told me.
What?
Vice President Joe Biden's campaign told me earlier that.
Club campaign.
It sounds like Vice President Biden's club called me is what it sounds like.
Vice President Joe Biden's campaign told me earlier this month that he's...
That's probably how they talk about him at CNN. Hey, you got anything from the VP's club? Betcha.
Vice President Joe Biden's campaign told me earlier this month that he supported President Trump's partial travel restrictions
after he called it xenophobic
on January 31st, blocking foreign nationals from China from coming.
He actually didn't. Wait, what is Tapper saying here? Biden was very clear. He said it was xenophobic. Is he lying for Biden? Is there any saying
no.
Biden came? I'm misunderstanding.
There's been a number of things Biden said. At one point, what Tapper said is true. Biden did that. The xenophobic thing, it may have been later.
Okay. That makes sense.
On January 31st.
Sorry?
Because Nancy called him, says, you can't do that. You got to call him xenophobic.
What did she say?
She said, you can't do that, Joe. You have to call him xenophobic. You're ruining it for the rest of us.
On January 31st, blocking foreign nationals from China from coming to the United States. Do you agree that it was the right move by President Trump at the time?
Well, let's go into the future, okay? Actually, tens of thousands.
By the way, when she says this, Tapper's face is like, what? We're going into the future?
Well, let's go into the future, okay?
Okay.
Actually, tens of thousands of people were still allowed in from China. So it wasn't as it is described as this great moment. There were Americans coming back or green card holders coming back.
You have to start the clip again. I mean, that part of it again, because she says, let's go into the future, and she immediately goes into the past.
Yeah, because she actually had a future thing that she was going to talk about. So, but she's incoherent.
She's worse than Biden when it comes to being, incoherent is the correct term.
She's on level with on par with Trump to some degree. I know what she's trying to say, but she's old and it's coming out weird.
Well, let's go into the future, okay?
Okay.
Actually, tens of thousands of people were still allowed in from China. So it wasn't as it is described as this great moment. There were Americans coming back or green card holders coming back, but there were tens of thousands. So if you're going to shut the door because you have an evaluation of an epidemic, then shut the door.
Yeah, that would have worked well, I think, if the president had said, no more Americans, you can't come home. I think President Pelosi would have done that. Here is her future. This is what she tried to say at the beginning. This is the agenda for, I would have to presume, not just Pelosi, but the Democrat Party. Again, we're beyond everything. We're going to open up. We don't give a crap. Now it's back to get Trump out.
But let's go into the future. What the American people want is for us to have a plan to go forward.
What do you think the top 3 things are that people want, John? The American people, because she knows the American people.
Oh, the American people want Trump out because they hate him.
Let's see, Trump out. Do you think
they want climate change fixed?
John, we're still in the pandemic. You can't get. This is Nancy talking to the American people. What do you think? They're at home still.
Good education, climate change, food, security. We want to fix the homeless problem.
No, you're wrong.
And our plan to go forward addresses their concerns. Their first concern is that our heroes be taken care of. Our healthcare workers, our police and fire, our emergency services, our teachers, our food service people, our transportation workers.
Is that everyone's concern? I don't think so. They're looking at him on TikTok. The nurses are dancing on TikTok. So, no, I don't think that's what people want.
Okay, I missed the one.
Our postal service, that they be taken care of because they are taking risks to do their jobs.
That's the old gambit. He's just letting the U.S. Postal Service, part of the U.S. Constitution, rot in hell because they need a bailout. But no. Would you care giving us the brief explanation again of what the problem is with the post office?
Yeah, they have to fund pensions 10 years in advance for each employee. And so, in other words, you have to. So instead of paying an employee, I don't know, $50,000 a year, whatever they're getting, they have to literally put aside $500,000 per employee
per year.
Yeah, and forward.
Yeah,
so
forward.
You have to pay him that year, and then you got to pay him for a year into their. So it's like doubling. It's a bookkeeper's nightmare. The post office union bitches and moans about this because it's used as people don't talk about it. They don't talk about how the whole.
No, all they talk about is they need a bailout, but that's not what they need. They need different accounting.
Our postal service, that they be taken care of because they are taking risks to do their jobs. Secondly, they want their check.
People want their check. I agree with this.
Secondly, they want their check. Where's my check?
Where's my check?
Payment.
I pulled that as an ISO, by the way, just in case we needed one. I thought maybe this would work.
Where's my check?
Maybe.
My unemployment check.
So unemployment check. The states are doing that. It's a mess. Tina got hers yesterday. And Ellen in Chicago, still nothing. Christina, I've not heard from her, or she may have texted, but as of yesterday, nothing. She's been closed down in Rotterdam for almost 2 months.
Unemployment check, the checks from this PPP, they have all not gotten them. And
she doesn't even know what she's talking about. PPP is the opposite of unemployment, lady. That's for companies to bring you back, and the government pays to have you work.
And all not gotten them, and we have to have oversight as to how quickly that should be moving. And the third thing they do not want, what they do not want is...
So yeah, she pulls a tricky one. The third thing that they do not want, she says, I don't know if that means that the people don't really want the other two or not, but what the people don't want...
What they do not want is any taxpayer dollars at this difficult time being used by the big entities that receive billions of dollars for anything other than keep people at work. They don't want to see any buybacks, any corporate increases in pay, bonuses, dividends, and the rest of that. That makes them very angry. And we have oversight to do all of that.
And that's really all we want. That's all the American people want. We want our check. We want to thank the healthcare workers and the postal service, and we don't want rich people to get any money. That's all we want. Woman could not be more disconnected from reality. It's really, really, really sad. And here she comes with the memes. Remember, if you say it 3 times, it must come true.
Testing, tracing. Isolation.
I did that myself. She actually said something. She actually said it differently. She originally went like this. Let me see, where was it? This is what she wants.
We've done 4 bills. We've done them all in a very bipartisan way. I'm proud of that, but we just have to have a path to the future if and when we can open up. Testing, tracing, isolation, and when we're ready.
See, she didn't have the balls to do it. That's why I
go for it.
That's why I did it for her.
Testing, tracing, isolation.
That would have been better.
She was on Joy Reid too. I might as well play. Yeah, I might as well play this. No, actually, I'll just play the second piece, because there she brought it up again. She's doing testing, tracing, and she only threw out one, isolation. Very disappointing. So I figured I'd fix it for her all. Now, for once and for all, this is what Nancy Pelosi wants.
Let's enlarge the issue from there. We want to protect everyone. And we want it to be something that knows no economic, legal, ethnic, racial difference. And that's why we're very proud of what we put into this bill that people are saying it didn't do enough in there. But again, let's just come back. Science. Testing. Tracing. Isolation. Treatment, prevention for everyone.
There we go. Good. Now we got it. Does everyone remember? That's the sequence. And then final kicker from her.
Okay. And when we're ready, we'll go out there. But there's planning. We spend a lot of time on what the president said when, and disinfect it in the body. Okay. You know what they call that? They call that embalming. That's the medical term.
Yeah, that's what he meant, Nance. He meant embalm yourself. Exactly.
Wow.
And that is the leader of the Democrat Party.
It is.
And I think it's very sad.
I have the one ISO that's a competitive one. I don't know if it's as good as yours, but this is Mika Brzezinski.
Mm-hmm.
And she says testing.
Oh, really? Where is it? Do you have it under Mika?
Under testing.
Oh. Well, that makes nothing but sense.
And 65% say it's a bad idea to allow people to return to work without testing, Mika.
Without testing Mika. I like that. Along with testing and release comes tracing and tracking. That's the next part we got to look at, and that, of course.
No, this is the part that they're not getting anywhere on this one.
Well, everyone else is in the game. Everybody is jumping into the game, and
well, they all pretend to be. I mean, this has been a tech issue.
Yes.
The first time it cropped up, I remember it back in the early days of the cell phone. This is pre-smartphone, and this is when the greatest cell phone companies were all the greatest cell phones you could buy were Japanese.
Yeah,
the Docomo phone. Oh, he's got a Docomo phone, and so people would have all these phones. And one of the things that they had were these tracking apps, where and this was that era when you wear or you had that little key fob thing, that was a little Japanese thing that beeped and booped when somebody was nearby.
Tamagotchi?
Yeah, something like that.
That was the toy. What is the the beeping thing? What are you talking about?
It was something else. But the point is that these phones were set up so you could. And I was demoed the software, and it was in the 80s even, where someone would say, maybe it was in the 90s, but they would show you this. It was tracking software. You could look at this. You can see where all your friends are congregated.
Oh, sure.
Yeah, well, I'm in Amsterdam, and I'm going to click on my phone. Oh, look, all my friends are over at this bar. I'm going to go over there, and all these little dots on the screen.
Yes.
I immediately looked at that, and this was like at least 20 years ago, and said, this is not good. This is for stalkers. This is bullcrap. The public will not allow this. So they've been pushing this and pushing it and pushing it, and I think it's all about government tracking. I think this is what it's really about.
Well, I brought the PDF to the party today that I received covertly, and I think I can put it in the show notes, but I'll double check. It's just a PDF. It's the Social Distance Data Project Innovation Response Volunteers. This is the citizen software engineers. This is what I told you about. I think some of this work's going on in Colorado. But their mission is to support state leaders in their decision-making process with the data they provide about social distancing patterns. And what I found interesting about this presentation is the data sources they are using. And there's 6 of them. And I thought it would just be fun to read through it in the context of
OTG going OTG.
You may want to consider that flip phone.
OTG kind of guy.
So many people emailing me, tweeting me.
I'm an OTG guy.
Hey, man, what's that phone you got again? What's that phone? I like that phone. Okay, so they have the CDOT, which I think is the Colorado Department of Transportation. They have traffic recorders on all major roadways. We have the Descartes Labs, who provide mobility index for county, municipalities, and AOIs. I don't know what AOIs is. We have Unicast. You probably saw that one on Twitter, which has demographics and traffic by county, municipality, and census block. We have Xmode, which provide a mobile device grid with points of interest. We have SafeGraph, which is part of the COVID-19 data consortium with, I guess they're sharing their traffic with each other, and Mapbox, which has telemetry data with changes in driving patterns. These are just the 6 sources these guys are using for the tracking app. And they have screenshots of all of these different services. You will leave your phone at home when you see that.
Yeah, but even so, in California, there's something like 10,000 tracking cameras. Mm-hmm. So when you're driving around, your plate, wherever you drive, your plate is, he's here, he's there, he's here, he's there. And if you have any of those little fast passes, which everybody uses, in fact, they're going to make it mandatory in California.
Of course, it's all going to be, yes, of course. And
they got little sensors all around. That's why I always put mine in a pocket.
Hey, you say mandatory? No, they are banning cash. It's not that the Easy Pass is mandatory. They're banning cash. They want to get rid of it.
But it carries disease.
The tracing app is good to go in Australia.
The federal government is set to launch its contact tracing app today. The app will help health authorities identify people who have come into contact with a coronavirus patient. Some people have expressed privacy concerns about downloading the software, but the government says safeguards are in place and the information will be destroyed once the COVID crisis is over. A senior federal government minister is worried complacency is setting in as Australians are tiring of social distancing measures. New data shows there has been a big spike in the number of people accessing directions on their smartphone over the past week. It's a sign people are out and about rather than staying at home to combat coronavirus. Home Affairs Minister Peter Dutton has told Sky News we risk undoing all our great work if we're not careful.
If people believe that we're immune in our country, clearly we're not. We were tracking in the same direction that Italy and other countries were headed in, and we've been able to offset that through the social distancing measures, through the announcements that the National Cabinet has presided over as well. So we don't want to give that up.
So I think worldwide, certainly in the United States, what we're seeing is, the pharmaceutical industry, that's all pretty locked up. Fauci's got his people in place. We've got remdesivir on the ends. We got HCQ on the way out. We've got some magical vaccine, which may or may not come. It's locked tight. No one else can get in the game. We've got it. So that leaves technology. And technology is still where a lot of scams can be pulled. And when there's a scam, you can bet Bill Clinton is right there. Yep, he is now doing video interviews with the Clinton Global Health Initiative, which apparently is still doing just fine. And they're good to go to help with tracking and tracing. And he talked it all over with Gavin Newsom, governor of California, on the Zoom.
One of the key elements,
and I edited out every single pause in Bill's drawn-out speech.
Your plan to be able to reopen California. But one of the things that you have to be able to do is to track people who are positive. Massachusetts has recently announced that they're going to try to build a statewide tracking program, and they've asked Partners in Health to run it for them. And
Partners in Health. Partners in Health is the one of the NGOs that I think may have even been founded just to go rape Haiti. That was Bill's Haiti outfit who were there. I don't know what they did, but not much good came out in the reports about what the Clinton Global Health Initiative and Partners in Health, what they were really doing or achieved in Haiti besides a couple houses and a hotel with the Clinton name on it.
That they're going to try to build a statewide tracking program, and they've asked Partners in Health to run it for them. And they're one of my partners in the work we've done in Africa, Haiti.
See, I think he's jumping on the bandwagon. He's weaseling in through the Partners in Health because they got the gig from Massachusetts.
Other places. But where are we going to get all these contact tracers? Should we have, like you did with California did with the Conservation Corps of young people, should we have
See, Bill is still from 1970, and he's thinking tracking means we have people like shadowing other people and knocking on their door, which of course is the actual way tracing and tracking is done, but he hasn't quite figured out the technology piece for some reason.
Conservation Corps of young people, should we have a contract tracer corps, even if we call it something more elegant?
I think the answer is absolutely yes, and I love the Massachusetts example. We were able to learn from them. We're all sharing best practices in real time.
John, I'm sure I have heard this or I've used this in a meeting. I'm going to write this down. Everybody write this down if you have a job. We are all right, let's hear it again. That was fantastic.
And I love the Massachusetts example. We were able to learn from them. We're all sharing best practices in real time.
We're all sharing
best practices in real time using best of breed software.
If someone complains about the show, hey, we're all practicing best
We're all sharing best practices in real time.
We're all sharing best practices in real time here, okay? So leave us alone.
But this is an interesting point that's often not brought up. We have tracing capacity that predates COVID-19. It goes back to SARS, measles, TB, et cetera. Tracking and tracing capacity that exists in the county levels primarily, and increasing capacity at the state level. So what we're doing is we're building off that existing infrastructure and using the tools of technology to overlay. The predicate for getting back to some semblance of normalcy is our ability to identify individuals through testing, to be able to trace their contacts, to isolate individuals that have either been exposed or quarantined.
I like this isolate. Listen what they're going to do. So we're going to trace you. It's not like we're asking you to go into quarantine. No. We're going to isolate you. This is interesting. This is very New World Ordery.
Didn't Nancy use isolate as one of her triples?
Yeah, you betcha.
To overlay the predicate for getting back to some semblance of normalcy is our ability to identify individuals through testing, to be able to trace their contacts, to isolate individuals that have either been exposed or quarantined people that are tested positive. And that's just going to require an army of folks and the capacity of consideration from individuals to allow for their privacy to be impacted by that kind of acuity of attention based upon where they've been.
Acuity of attention. This guy's getting worse. He's going to have to tone down his language.
Listen to the payoff, the very last piece, the very last bit here.
And the capacity of consideration from individuals to allow for their privacy to be impacted by that kind of acuity of attention based upon where they've been and who they talked to.
Where they've been, sure. Who they've talked to? Who they've talked to?
That's what he said.
You need to track who I talked to.
Yeah, because you may have passed off that PDF file to that person.
So how do you track who I talked to? Do you think this is just an oversight that he says this, or does he mean we're going to actually find out who you're talking to?
Well, that's what they've already been doing over there at that building over on 3rd Street in San Francisco, that AT&T building that's used by the NSA to track who you talk to.
I'd like to get ahead of this.
Good luck.
I have an idea. I'd like to get ahead. I'd like to get
an idea.
Yeah, I think this could be a mind, not an exit strategy, but it could be an ice cream cone on the weekend.
A bonus.
Okay. So it's going to take a while before all of this stuff comes to bear, if people will even accept the violation of tracking. And I think that this whole situation has been one big smoke and mirrors. Of course, actual people died, and people died during influenza seasons and other types of viral issues. And, I think the whole world got through it pretty good from a health standpoint, but now we got a real problem with getting back to work and to life. So instead of, just to get ahead of it, I'd like to see if the No Agenda Shop guys, if they can make the following for us. You can get one of those, the rubber band bracelets that have something printed on it, like a live strong.
Your buddy biker over there in Austin, Texas, popularized.
Yeah, not my buddy Lance Armstrong. Yes. So you have them, the same material, a little broader, except that it's more like a watch wristband. So it has a clasp, and then on the top of it is a metal plate that you can have engraved. And I'm thinking we make this look really official with a little medical sign, like, the little snake and shit on there. And we do COVID-19 antibodies verified. And you just put that on, and wherever you go, say, no, I got it. COVID. And they'll see it, and they'll believe it, and you're good to go. And this
is a fact.
This could be a $15 item.
This is a fact. If they see it, they'll believe it. If you had a thing that was engraved, COVID-19 antibodies confirmed.
Yep.
Maybe, or even flour it up even a little more, and you had it on your wrist. It was some sort of thing like that.
Well,
you are good to go. We
can't be throwing in our 33s and ITMs on this thing. It has to kind of
33.
It has to kind of look right. It's no different. Thank you, Troll Room. It's no different than the bullcrap emotional support dog that has his flak jacket on and his crosses and don't pet the dog and, all that stuff. It's no different from that. Come on, No Agenda Shop. Let's get it done. I think that would be great.
I'd like to see a couple prototypes before we go into final production.
We got to move. This has got to happen soon. We got to move.
We don't. This is a slow process. This idea of getting us all
we can't get that ship
over and tracked.
We can't get that ship from China.
Well, they can. Yeah, Chinese probably already have some of it.
Oh, the irony!
You probably don't even have to do the design.
It's probably already done. Just need the words. COVID-19 antibodies confirmed. All right. As you know, here at the No Agenda Show, we are legendarily lazy. So if you have any way to do that, we think it would be fantastic. And that's how we get ahead of it. And then eventually, when people, it'll be such a hit that people will be very excited. Of course, we can't list it on Amazon because that'll be taken down immediately. Maybe we put on the bottom it's 5G compatible, just throw that in there.
5G compatible. A lot of this stuff that Newsom's going on and on about. I mean, it's such baloney. They have throughout the state, like I said, something like 10,000 or more monitors, and they have these little monitors that monitor all your toll tags. And if you watch Law and Order, they show, I see he went over the Brooklyn Bridge, at this time, then he must have gone into Manhattan to kill that woman. So they have all this data. They have more data that they collect because they collect every car that drives by in both the toll tag reader and also the license plate readers. And most of the buses have license plate readers on them. And all this goes into a giant database that is out of control. Yeah. There's nothing. They can't do anything with this data.
Yep. I know. That's why I think our idea is the best. And then once people actually have antibody tests, they'll be happy to get those.
Yeah, they'll be buying the thing. Yeah, there you go.
And with that,
maybe we'd end up selling them to the government.
Hey, these public-private partnerships, you never know. Hey, it's done. I need 5 million of those bracelets. Fantastic. With that, I'd like to thank you for your courage to say in the morning to you, the man who put the C in the COVID-19 antibodies verified bracelet, John C.
Well, any morning to you, Mr. Adam Curry, and ships and sea in the boots of the ground, the feet in the air, and the subs in the water, and the dames and the nights out there.
Yes, in the morning to everybody in the troll room. They're known as trolls. They're not really bodies, they're trolls. Let's count them. Troll count, 1625. Good for a Thursday, what you'd expect on a lockdown. And they've been very helpful today. Lots of good ideas. Thank you so much, trolls. It's good to have you here. Of course, you can troll out as well at noagendastream.com, where you can also get an invite to noagendasocial.com, now more relevant than ever, as everything is just getting deplatformed and deleted and blocked and terminated, suspended. Come on over to noagendasocial.com, or you can just follow me and everybody else, Adam at noagendasocial.com, from the Federation, from any Mastodon compatible or GNU social compatible system. It's not that crazy anymore. You can figure it out. It's good fun when you get there. It's kind of like the early internet. There's no bull crap. It just works. In the morning, to our artiste for episode 1237. This was done by Joe Casara, who I do not believe has done any other art except this one. And it was I thought, a very good takeoff of Best Buds, a Keith Haring, very famous Keith Haring painting, and he extended the two characters with longer arms. They got little masks on. The font was in the right. I mean, the whole thing just made sense. The whole thing was good. In fact, we had to check to make sure it wasn't stolen.
Well, he never submitted before, so he might just, be one of these. A lot of guys come in and, this is cute. I mean, I bet you be No Agenda guys alike, and then they run it through the generator, and they put their logos on there. Next thing you know, it's stolen. And we check. Yeah, it's very easy to do.
We do check these things.
It doesn't mean that some stuff doesn't get by. I mean, I think there's been an instance where something was lifted and it was not caught, but it's rare.
Yeah, stuff happens.
And then we lecture, we gripe.
Yeah, we lecture, all right. Excuse me. So again, thanks to
sounds like the COVID cough.
Yeah, it is. Thanks to Joe Casera, the award-winning art for episode 1237. This is really important, and I said important. Artwork only changes on our show, every single show. I don't think not many people have that. Certainly not with the frequency have, and the quality of the work like this it's just fantastic. So we appreciate this value that producers provide to us. NoAgendaArtGenerator.com. You can look at all of them. We use them for newsletters. It also goes on.
Yeah, I used the Nick Durrett piece that
was
I
a nice
liked a
piece.
lot for the newsletter, and you hated it.
I did not hate it.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I don't hate dogs. Lance Armstrong.
You thought it was a dog.
Lance Armstrong is not my buddy.
You met him.
Stacey Abrams is not. I'm not predicting that she's going to be VP. That was the former New York banker.
Yeah, well, I got it mixed up because you seem to be boosting her. I think that she's a dead end.
Well, let's hold that for a moment. I want to talk about her, and I have some stuff, and I'm sure you do as well. But this is the point where we like to thank our executive and associate executive producers who keep the wheels turning, more or less the top of the show. It's been we've adjusted the format a bit for the C stuff, for the COVIDs, which I think has actually kind of benefited the overall flow since we are longer as well. So I'm pretty happy. But let's kick it off by thanking our executive producers.
Let's thank some people. Yes,
please. Let's
Tony
do this.
Cabrera's at the top of the list today. And he gave 633.33. And he has a note. He has a note that he wants us to read. He says, ITM, John and Adam, here's your first installment of the COVID-19 sales from the No Agenda shop.
Woohoo! There you just talking about him.
There are currently extended to 2 to 4 week delays in order deliveries due to the production restrictions.
Yes.
But once everyone receives their items and happy with the Corona 2020 memorabilia, you'll be getting your next third donation as usual. Or your next donation as usual. Thank you for your courage and patience. Gitmo Nation. Because they had things slowed down there. Mm-hmm. Can I get it? We're all going to die, and that's true.
We're all going to die. That's true.
And I'm going to give them a goat karma for being them.
You've got karma.
They sent me out of the blue. They sent us a couple of did I tell you that the No Agenda mugs? Did you get the new mugs?
Yeah, I got the 2 mugs. They're dynamite.
Oh my God, they're beautiful. It's my favorite design.
Everybody over these mugs.
Everybody loves those. Thanks, Tony. Thank you very much.
The Gaga mugs.
NoAgendaShop.com. We don't own it. We don't run it. Once in a while, money shows up like this. Thanks, Tony. That's a true value for value system right there.
It's kind of the VIG.
It's kind of like Gangsters, yeah. It's a little gangstery. Yeah, I like that.
It doesn't come in an envelope, but it comes.
No. We don't have to break any legs.
And if it doesn't come, it doesn't come.
That's right, exactly.
Kimberly Singleton, 501.20. John, please wish my husband Timothy Singleton, Knight of All Swimming Pools, a happy birthday on Friday, 5/1.
Yes, he'll be on the list.
Please we got a Cinco de Mayo coming up. We got a Cinco de Mayo show coming up. Oh, my goodness.
Is that on Thursday?
No, Tuesday.
Oh, too bad.
Please give us a de-douching for being so long.
You've been de-douched.
Please know that we're now signed up to donate monthly on AutoPay. Keep up the great work. We love listening to you.
Wait a minute. She's using the show to tell her husband that they are now signed up to donate monthly on AutoPay?
Yeah.
Nice.
It's the way it's done in that family.
It's nice. I
Either
like that.
Or she's going to text him later.
Yeah, exactly.
I've talked to people who one Mevio guy that you know very well, who was one of the head techie at the company for
Andrew.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, not Andrew. No, not Andrew. The security guy. Joe. He used to sit. I said, "Yeah, I bet you and your wife sit across the dining room table and text each other." And he said, "Yeah." We do that. Okay. Ted, I guess it's Gartland in Mendon, New York, 45133. And he's got some jingle requests. It's a scam that's true. And Fomer, asshole. A new sound he sent. Okay. Well, you use that.
He sent that?
So he says, I said, new sound I sent from TedG332@gmail.com on April 26th.
Ted G. Let me see if I can find Ted G.
Maybe he didn't send it to you.
Yeah.
But you're the guy who does the sound.
He did. I got it here.
Want to give it a run?
Do I want to give it a run?
Advanced run?
No, man. What are you pussy? Let's roll that thing.
ITM. Okay. ITM, thanks for the amygdala support during the trying times here. With this donation, I've reached knighthood and wish to be known as Sir Ted of the leak detection and ozone hole mitigation. For the round table, please add toasties and flutches of Corona.
Now, toasties and flutches.
Toasties and flute and what?
And flutjes.
Flutjes and fluge is a Dutch glass.
Yes, a fluitje. That's exactly what he's saying. So, asking for
of Corona
and toasty. You know what a toasty is, don't you?
Is it toast?
It's a grilled cheese.
Oh, is it?
Yeah. Well, you typically grilled cheese with ham, but yeah, grilled cheese.
So grilled cheese sandwich. Grilled cheese sandwich and a glass of Corona. Thank you both for the tech tips you provide. Yeah, we use that. We do that about once a month.
Yeah.
I now use the Dissenter browser and Swiss Cows as my search provider.
Very good.
I don't know Swiss Cows.
Yeah, we talked about it on the show.
I enjoy when you talk about how NA is free from advertisers. This is true in the deep state networks such as YouTube, Facebook, Patreon, etc. The value for value model is genius, and utilizing a Federation server solution is ideal. Now, my tip. A few months back, I added, "That's true," as the text notification sound on my smartphone. It's amazing how good it makes me feel when out of the blue, it affirms something I'm saying. It's uncanny. Thanks to Phone Boy, who posted it on the No Agenda soundboard. Best wishes.
Yes.
Sir Ted of leak detection and ozone hole mitigation.
You need to do the it's a scam, because that doesn't actually exist as far as I know. And
it's a scam.
That's true.
Listen to that,
asshole.
Okay. We got
You've got karma.
There's his home-baked jingle.
Homemade jingles.
By the way, for the tech tip of the day, since he mentioned it, I have two tech tips. The first one, you may recall on the previous show, where Windows had decided to upgrade my experience. That included upgrading my Outlook email experience. And they moved the search bar. And I just want anyone who works in user interface, or certainly at Microsoft in the Windows UI division, there are a couple things you don't do. And if you listen to that show, you hear me panicking in real time, using my best practices, sharing them. I could not search because you moved the search bar from right above the mailbox listing to the title bar. Granted, it's only an inch and a half higher, but who looks in the title bar if the search is there? You are stupid.
And the kicker is you could put it back to where it belongs by clicking a button or something.
Yeah, you can turn off the new features.
So why didn't they just leave it there and click the button to move it to the title bar?
Here's what happened. When it started up, after your experience is upgraded, it starts in the new mode, and it has a clippy balloon that says, "Hey, you got the cool new features here. Do you want to leave this on? You want to leave this on? Do you want to on? And I'm looking, it's on. I'm like, okay, whatever. And then you can't find stuff anymore. Second tech tip. T-Mux. It's command line Viagra. All right, let's go back to the donations.
Okay, where was I?
You're still with Ted. Ted. Jet
Stigler.
Yet.
Stigger.
It's going to be
Jet Stigger. It's 413-24 in Crested Butte, Colorado. Oh, Butte. Sorry. First time
Really?
donations. Stranded in The Hague due to the plague. Marks the end of week 6. In the mix. Matching my phone bill in donation as a formation. As working remotely internationally is a real pain. in the main. I don't know. Anyway, that's
I think the name may be Jet Stichter.
Jet Stichter.
Yeah, Stichter. And what an interesting number. 413.24. Was there a reason for this? This is an interesting number.
Probably.
Oh, matching my phone bill in donation. Oh, holy crap. That's why.
His phone bill? Oh,
it's probably a her, a she. I think Yet is a...
Yet is a girl.
I think so. Anyway, first-time donation gets a de-douching from us. Thank you so much.
You've been de-douched.
And since you did that, I'm going to give you a karma. Why not?
You've got karma.
Serena Catania in San Diego, $350. She sent in an email. And, okay, let's see what she says here. Let me get the email. I need a good de-douching.
You got it.
You've been de-douched.
I thought I had contributed enough for official damehood, but was off by $119.10. I think she's talking about that last week. She did, or last show she had a donation. So I've donated via PayPal $350 to bring me up to full damehood with a penalty for being inaccurate and causing strife. Yeah, she's the one that we gratuitously gave damehood to, I think.
Oh, well, there's no strife. It worked out, I guess.
Well, I don't know. I could be wrong. Can't thank you enough for giving me the benefit of the doubt. Yeah, I guess we did.
Yeah, we did.
Do dames get to pick for the round table? If so, please add a good dosage of aphids and other garden pests for me to nosh on. Love you guys, Dame Ladybug.
Okay, so so she's at the round table for the ceremony. She's already been damed, of course. What did she want at the round table? I couldn't hear it.
Aphids and other garden pests.
Aphids? Jeez.
She's a ladybug.
Yes. And other, garden pests. Okay. Because she'll be eating them. They'll be eating them for us.
She'll be there.
Got it.
Now we have Anonymous in Chicago. And I want to point out that Anonymous in Chicago sent a donation in at $333.33. And then send a note in separately, which could have easily been missed. And I would recommend people sending high amounts, high donations like $333.33 to send it in as a check with the note attached, as opposed to
that's a good way to do it. I agree, but it's not frictionless.
No, it's not frictionless. Dear Crackpot and Buzzkill. This donation at $333 is my second installment on the path to knighthood. Your media deconstruction is simply the best source for anyone interested in understanding the Manchurian media prison we all find ourselves living in. Yes, on more than one occasion, I've used the clip section of your episode page to hit people in the mouth and propagate the truth.
Good.
Doing so makes me look like I'm very well informed to the slaves in my life, and for that I wish to thank you for the value for value. Now, I need to decide what to do with the power I wield as an executive producer of episode 1238. Should I make you play sound clips on command, directing you guys on from high to do my bidding, like my own personal sound monkeys? Perhaps I should request that my funding be used to produce an OTG segment. We already did that.
We did an OTG
Alas, no, I want nothing.
Aww.
Nothing for myself, as you two have already given more than I could ever want. In addition to your persistent efforts to set our amygdalas free, Adam has been repeatedly generous, answering my random Twitter questions about what phone to buy in order to exempt myself from the developing medical surveillance state being imposed on us all. I've taken his advice and purchased the Alcatel Go Flip 3, and I'm loving it.
Good.
The spirit of Adam's generosity and both of your endless hard work. All I want for my donations is jobs karma for all my fellow producers who might find themselves economically impacted by this situation.
Anonymous.
Well, and he goes on. Until next time, thank you for your bravery, gentlemen. Anonymous in Chicago.
Yes, thank you very much. And indeed, a lot of people have been asking about the flip phone, and it turns out for the U.S., actually, I think there's a European version. It's not the Alcatel or not the Go Flip 3 or Go Flip 3. And Verizon has its Go Flip V, and apparently you can get it with hotspot. So that's the way to go, people.
Jobs, 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 and jobs. Let's vote for jobs. Yeah!
You've got karma.
And thank you, Anonymous.
Excellent. Onward to the associate executive producer, starting with Abby. Abby. It's funny. Abby. Sorry, Abby. Abby Venska in Wauwatosa, Wisconsin. 2:33:33 in the morning to you, John and Adam. First of all, thank you for creating the best podcast in the universe. This show is one of the only things that keeps my husband sane in this crazy world today. I'd like to wish my smoking hot husband, Brad Horwitz, a very happy birthday for 2920 and contribute this donation towards his knighthood. For jingles, can we get some karma for Brad's birthday /life? Shut up, slave, now fitting in this COVID-19 fear-mongering times, and a de-douching for not donating in a while. Thanks, John and Adam, for continuing this podcast. Thanks, John and Adam, for continuing to podcast the truth. Sincerely, Abby.
Podcasting the truth. All right, we're going to do it in reverse order for you, Abby.
You've been de-douched.
Shut up, slave.
You've got karma.
Podcasting the truth. Scott Fuller in Cumming, Georgia, 2:33. Realized, he's a baronet, by the way. Realized making a donation today that he's now made baronet.
Yeah,
but
today.
Instead of
today,
I'd rather make my smoking hot wife, Gail, a dame.
Exactly. That's what we do.
There you go. Share the wealth. Over the past few years, she's gone from, I can't understand how you listen to those two guys talking, to the occasional, what did the No Agenda guys say about?
Doesn't it?
To now, listening to new episodes before I even realize it's up and wanting to talk about it. So please, dame her. Dame her the twin mominator and provide iced chai tea lattes and peace and quiet at the round table. Please add a jobs karma for me. Thanks for all you guys do. Sir Scott Knight of the many small donations.
No, that's so nice, Scott. And of course, we welcome your smoking hot wife, Gail, to the table as a dame.
There is nothing like a dame. Nothing in the world. Gitmo Nation will acclaim. There ain't anything like a dame.
Jobs, jobs, and jobs. Let's vote for jobs.
You've got karma.
Ooh, I like that. I like that combo.
How long it takes to get a resistant wife to kind of come around. I mean, in time, I like to see what if there's a timeline.
A resistant wife. It doesn't sound at all misogynistic. I love it.
Jacob Hernandez in Kennewick, Washington, is next on the list. And he is coming in with $200. And he says, I just beat the coronavirus, and I couldn't have done it without the No Agenda show.
Well, that needs to be a bumper sticker.
I wonder what he wished to do. A little more details, please, Jacob.
Yeah.
A little bit, just something.
Yes. Wow.
Gregory Van Mullen. Well, give him a karma for his troubles.
Yeah.
You've got karma.
Coronavirus. Who needs it? Gregory Van Mullen in Bakersfield, California. 200 simoleons. I have never been prouder to be from Bakersfield, home of Doctors Erickson and Artin Masihi.
These are our
two doctors,
the hydroxychloroquine guys.
Banned from just expressing their doctor opinions. They got banned from YouTube.
From science. They've been banned from science.
From science, yes, they're out. These two guys, get rid of these two guys.
Get them out of
science. They're interfering with. Hey, We got plants here. We're doing some work, and this guy's coming in. Come on, get out.
Hold on.
People are learning through science.
These guys are my new heroes. I censored YouTube. Their censored YouTube video is awesome. The lockdown has recently started to fall apart here in Bakersfield. Traffic is way up and mask wearing is way down. I even went to a car show at a local restaurant last Thursday night. No jingles, no karma. For my knighthood ceremony, I would like to request loud pickup trucks and open source code.
You got it, Gregory. See you there, man, at the round table. It's going to be fun today. Big one. Big induction ceremony.
And that will be our list of executive producers and associate executive producers for show 1238. I want to thank each and everyone for keeping this show going.
Especially the titles is important for you. If you've supported us during these exec and associate executive producer credits, these can be used anywhere. People are out there. We got a big job fair opening up worldwide in the next month or two. Everybody's going to be swapping, looking, doing all kinds of stuff. It's time to refresh your resume and make sure you put on there you were executive producer of the No Agenda Show, episode 1238, or alternatively, associate executive producer. Thank you so much for keeping it rolling, and we'll thank more people. $50 and above in our second donation. And remember, we'll be here as usual. What? Did you just yawn? Did you just yawn?
No, I got a hiccup.
Oh. We'll be here on Sunday. Please support us by going to
Dvorak.org/NA.
All right. This helps you get through the Rona, apparently. So listen up.
Our formula is this. We go out, we hit people in the mouth.
Order.
Shut up, slave.
Shut up, slave.
Well, I made a point of doing a little Joe Biden stuff today.
Yes, I'm happy you did because we need some entertainment.
Yeah, you got it. You got it coming. Now, he finally got out. He's still in his hole. Well, you know, Trump's roaming around. Pence is roaming around without a mask. He's supposed to wear a mask. He says, I haven't tested. I don't need a mask. I'm a tough guy. Meanwhile, Joe is holed up in his
basement.
In his basement where he can't escape. Although he does say he's gotten out of the house a couple of times, but he shows his mask because he can't even go outside because apparently he's afraid to go outside without his mask. This is going to be our next president. So he did an interview, an exclusive interview. I don't have the whole thing, but I got most of it.
Okay.
On CBS 4 Miami. And so he's in the thing, and I want to play clips from it, and then I have little ISOs that are from the clip to point out some of the stupidity of Joe's comments, because he just, yak, look, you're going, the way I see it, I saw the look, the way it was the other look, he never, he can't finish a sentence, can't finish a thought. And so we have some of that. But so let's start with Biden CBS 4-1.
Hello, Mr. Vice President. Thank you very much.
Are you home as well?
I am home.
Wow, right off the bat. That's what your grandma, that's what your big mama and your pop say when you call them on the phone. Hey, are you at home as well? Oh, God.
Hello, Mr. Vice President. Thank you very much.
Are you home as well?
I am home and staying safe, yes. Are you getting a bit of cabin fever down there in the basement?
I am, but I'm allowed to go upstairs, and when I walk out in the yard with the Secret Service, I got my mask with me, so I'm all ready. So,
Mr. Vice President, I guess I want to start with talking to you about how this virus has sort of exposed some of the inequities in our society, and the folks we used to look past, because they were in low wage, middle class, or dead end jobs, we now consider them essential workers. How do you think this changes us going forward?
Well, pray God, Jim, it changes a lot. I've been, they're the neighborhoods I come from in Scranton and Claymont, Delaware, down when we moved from Scranton. And, these are everyone from firefighters, law enforcement officers, grocery store clerks, bus drivers, etc. And all of a sudden, people, not because they were prejudiced, they just didn't focus on it. people of more means thought, what's the big deal? Now they're realizing they're the folks keeping everybody moving, everything going. And I hope to God, when this is over, we're going to be able to turn what is a awful crisis and extreme damage done, particularly to these providers, and turn it into an opportunity to begin to treat them like they should be treated, with fair wages, more respect, in a position where they're going to be able to take care of their families. And I just think it's kind of like, Jim, the blinders have been taken off. All of a sudden, the person at the, who's the high school educated woman or guy stacking the food in the grocery store becomes really essential.
Huh.
All right. So what is he's going on and on about this? They're trying to get this. The party of the bankers is going to try to get these people.
That's what it sounds like.
But there's the real. Now, if this was Trump and he says what this ISO is going to show, if Trump had said something like this, he'd be really nailed. This is the real attitude toward these people is exemplified by something within that clip that you probably didn't catch, but I did, right. And here it is. This is the one ISO,
and they're the folks keeping.
Hold on,
and they're the things, and they're the folks keeping.
Yeah, that's who they are. They're just things.
They're the things. So the people, all these important people that he's heaping praise upon,
calls them
when
things.
It comes down to his free flow of thought, they're the things. They're things. Good work, Joe. That's
right on, Joe. Things.
You're looking at the Democrats' candidate for president. You things out there, you should be voting for him.
It's really not fair what you're doing here, Joe.
It's what he'd said.
I know.
Yeah, I know. You're right. It's very unfair to actually dissect what this guy has to say.
Very unfair.
Very unfair. Things. Anyway, I found that incredibly offensive.
Well, just the truth wants to come out. They're just things. Doesn't surprise me. So
let's go to. I don't have an ISO from this one, but this is just a dumb clip. This is CBS 4-2.
Becomes really essential. Where the farmer putting getting food to market is really essential. And I think there's a greater appreciation for who really makes this country function. I talked early when I announced about a year ago that we're going to restore the soul of America. We're seeing the soul of America now.
He's black.
These folks are the soul of America. A lot of them are scared to death, but they're still showing up for work in the essential jobs.
Well, does this tend to make the case for a $15 hour minimum wage?
Oh, I think it makes the case for that. And quite frankly, Jim, I think it makes the case for more. It makes the case, the president talked about, he's a commander in chief. Well, look at all his generals, lieutenants, and non-coms. They're all people. They're doctors, they're nurses, they're police officers, firefighters, they're store clerks. They're people who, in fact, are driving buses and transportation facilities. And I think it's about time they start to get recognized for what they do and compensated appropriately.
What did he say? Non-coms?
Yeah, non-coms, non-commissioned officers.
Oh, okay. All right. So confused by that.
Non-coms. What an idiot. So he makes it clear that he thinks, like unionized bus drivers should get more than $15. They already do get the minimum wage, way beyond $15 an hour. Most of the people he listed.
Isn't this just a part?
These are not ditch diggers we're talking about.
Is this not just a part of Pelosi's plan? The first thing we do is we want to the first thing we, the American people, want to do is thank these people. He's on point. And by the way,
he's thanking these things.
When you do that with a flyby from the jets, you're an asshole for planning it. But thanking them is what we want.
Yes. Yeah. All right, let's go to CBS 4-3.
So I also wanted to ask you about the World Health Organization. If you're elected president, will you restore funding to the World Health Organization?
Yes, I will, but I'll also insist that we do what we were doing before. We had set up a pandemic office within the White House, President Obama. We had CDC, the folks for the Center for Disease Control, forward stationed in other countries to anticipate when we might see a virus coming, a pandemic coming, because there are going to be more of these. And I would get much more engaged in the world. We can't step back. If in fact, for example, we solve the problem in the United States of America, and you don't solve it in other parts of the world, you know what's going to happen. You're going to have travel bans. You're going to not be able to have economic intercourse around the world. There's a lot. Look, when America goes alone, when America is first, it's America alone. And the idea that we're stepping back from the world leadership that we, in fact, engaged in during the virus and the pandemics in the past, it is leaving it leaderless, as a matter of fact. And so we have to get back in the game.
Well, one of the issues is going to be China. That's one of the reasons why the president cited for pulling out of the World Health Organization. China is likely to become a major issue in this election, in part because of the coronavirus. I think you've been critical of the way the administration handled China. The administration has been critical of the way you were, when you were vice president, were dealing with China. I guess I want to ask you, do you think that this is going to, in fact, be a major issue? And are you vulnerable on this issue at all because of your son's business dealings in China?
No, I don't believe so at all. My son's business dealings were not anything with everybody that he's talking about, not even remotely, number one. Nothing to do with me, number two. And to talk about business dealings, look at the business dealings the president has with China. He owes apparently millions of dollars to the Bank of China. He's got patents from, this is all about whether or not we're going to be able to coexist with the biggest population in the world and make sure we're the one that set the standards that the rest of the world repairs to. That's what it's about.
I think that was pretty much debunked, the Trump-China business dealings.
Yeah, I think it's been debunked. I think there was a low.
They tried to push it. They tried to push this as a meme for.
They couldn't find anything because the Chinese, like every other bank, had sold off whatever Trump owed them to some other bank.
Right.
Apparently, he did have a loan with China with a bank for some real estate, and
sure,
like every other real estate. I mean, it's just what you do. Every time you take out a real estate loan over the last 25 years, they get moved to somebody else. You don't even know who you owe. But let's listen to a couple of ISOs that are in that one there. Let's go to this is just ISO.
Just ISO?
Yeah, Biden CBS 4.3 ISO.
Yeah, got it.
Because the idea, Jim, you've never seen a time when someone seeking asylum has to seek it from another country.
I know what he means, but it sounds really dumb. It means he has to, and in fact, I think you're supposed to ask for asylum either before you leave your country or at an official asylum window.
Whatever.
Did you say whatever? Wow. Wow.
What an idiot. So here's the one that's ISO 2.
And make sure we're the one that set the standards that the rest of the world repairs to.
Repairs to?
What he said?
I think he said repairs to.
And make sure we're the one that set the standards that the rest of the world repairs to.
He means it adheres, but I think just repair it. Just repair it.
He said repairs.
He said repairs.
It's very clear that
you will repair.
The rest of the world repairs to.
Repair to me.
You think he was trying to say adheres to? No, I don't think it fits into the structure.
Prepare.
I don't know I cannot figure out what word he was trying to use. Say it one more time.
Yeah, that's probably a good idea.
And make sure we're the one that set the standards that the rest of the world repairs to.
Prepare to repair. 2. All right. Well, it happens.
I don't know.
It happens.
Oh, yeah. Well, it seems to happen a lot with this guy. So let's go to Biden 4.
A lot.
Immigration.
Look, when America goes alone, when America is first, it's America alone.
I wrote that down. When it's America first, it's America long, baby. I don't know what it means, but it sounds good. We're going long. We're going for the bomb. The guy's great. Now,
you just played the ISO.
That's all I had.
No, don't you have Biden 4 immigration?
Oh, here it is. Okay, I'm sorry. We can talk about it later, but the way you've labeled them, it shows up in a weird place.
Well, it's
okay.
With regard to immigration, you said that you would suspend or place a moratorium on deportations for the first 100 days for anyone in the country illegally. Do you still hold to that, and why do you believe that's a good idea?
Because we have to straighten things out. Anyone who committed a felony in the meantime would be deported. But we have to take time to take stock of exactly what's going on, who's where, what the truth is, and what's going on at the border. And that's the thing we should be doing now. Because the idea, Jim, you've never seen a time when someone seeking asylum has to seek it from another country. You've never seen a circumstance where we have put people in cages. You know, we have to take stock of where we are. We are a nation of...
We have to take stock?
You know, I missed that one. I would have ISO'd it, too.
We have put people in cages. You know, we have to take stock.
I want to sake some stock, damn it.
Sake stock.
It's probably a Japanese company that has sake stock, but it came out different for Joe from the teleprompter.
Of where we are. We are a nation of immigrants. And one of the reasons why we are so powerful and we've been so successful is because we're a nation of immigrants. And the way we're acting, both domestically and internationally, is a crying shame. It's not who we are.
Is that who we... Wait, it's not who we are! There we go. It's my one Obama. This is not who we are!
Yeah, there's some of that. Now, that's the end of that thing. I think I do have the Biden on how to win Florida. I think came from this. This is a kind of an ISO, very short thing that I think came from the same interview, Biden on how to win Florida.
That we build the middle class back up and also deal with what everybody in Florida knows is a problem, global warming.
Okay. That cracked me up.
Clip of the day.
I don't know if there was any context about Florida before it, but it doesn't matter.
The guy asked him, how are you going to win Florida?
That we build the middle class back up and also deal with what everybody in Florida knows is a problem, global warming.
It's like that you don't expect it. There's a lot of problems, but it's the fish flopping in Miami. That's what he's referring to.
The fish.
Yeah, the fish flopping.
The fish you can't drive through Miami without hitting a fish.
Fish, man.
Good eating, by the way.
It's fish.
Those fish.
Now,
it's not like I'm not beating up on Biden here, but I felt that, Biden is working on his picking the vice president. This is where the Stacey Abrams stuff might come in.
Yeah, I'm ready for you.
I don't have Stacey Abrams.
I do.
Well, I'm going to let you play that before I continue bashing him. But let's go on. We have to determine who start to make some predictions. I've made a couple of them already that may be falling by the wayside because my latest thinking, and I could be wrong, is that he's going to go with Amy Klobuchar.
No.
Why are you so exaggerated in your reaction to that?
Because I'm so excited for Amy.
I forgot you're.
Yes, I'm an Amy man.
What was I thinking?
Hey, everybody, I'm an Amy man. The Amy man.
He's the Amy go-to guy.
I'm an Amy man.
So, and I think, and there's some reasons for this. One, he already said he's going to pick a woman, and he has to really seriously think about. This is why Stacey Abrams is out. Nobody is going to let Stacey Abrams become president of the United States when all she is a small town. Well, maybe she's in a big town.
John, she's a small town member of the Council on Foreign Relations. That's all you need to know.
She's a small town. She's a small state, small town. She is a Georgia legislative member of the Georgia legislature. Mm-hmm. And how is that qualifications to be president of the United States? Yes, she is a CFR member. And how did that ever come to be? So that's suspicious. But so she's out. I don't care what anybody wants to think. They just like to talk about her. So they can talk about her so they can bring her up later. But Stacey Abrams is out. And then the other women that I've looked at, he can't do Elizabeth Warren because it doesn't balance the ticket properly. Klobuchar's in the Midwest, so that balances the ticket. You have East Coast, Midwest. That's always a good balance. And it's starting to narrow down to those. Kamala Harris is a horrible person. She's not that he would never pick her.
just a horrible person.
And then he's got, Gillibrand is making noise trying to get in on the action, but she doesn't have a prayer. She's also not. She's from the East Coast, also means no balanced ticket. Anyway, so Amy is my top pick right now, even though I still like the woman from New Mexico.
You know who the keeper's prediction is? It just came out. Well, it's not a prediction, but she said it's very interesting. Val Demings. She's a Florida Democrat. So let's look at the list. She's a Democrat. It's a she. Val Demings. She's a Democrat. She's a woman, and she's African American. That's 3 for 3, bro.
Yeah, 3 for 3.
And she is
let me give you my 3.
A United States representative. She's a congresswoman, so she's good to go.
No one's ever heard of her. No one's ever heard of her. And no one's ever heard of her.
All right. Now, let's just break for 1 second because you gave me the room. I'm going to play you 46 seconds of the Hacks on Tap podcast. Hacks on Tap is a fabulous podcast. It is the two big campaign guys, Mike Murphy, the Republican, and Axelrod, who, of course, ran the Obama campaign, and they go head-to-head and talk about all kinds of stuff like who should Joe pick for a VP?
I mean, I can't tell how many times that I've been with a candidate in this discussion, and they bring up a name that the media keeps harping on, that they're getting lobbied for, and that choice could make a lot of sense. And then there's a pause, and some smartass, sometimes me, says, yeah, and we're going to need a food tester, because it's clear the core loyalty will be to the future of their career. And I think that's a problem with Abrams. I think that's a problem with Kamala, and it could be a problem with any of the others. So you can never underestimate in the room how important that is, that to get a team player, not somebody who's an independent operator. And what's a very tough job, because you go out and take fire for the president. And people who have their own campaign plan, thinking Joe's only there for 1 year, are going to be very difficult to manage in that way. And it's going to be a tough time to be POTUS.
So let's just review what was said there. He's only really going to be VP for a year because, well, we all know. And the second thing was they're going to need a food taster, depending on who vice president is, because apparently they think that someone's going to try and kill Joe.
Yeah, of course.
So I think that's a good prediction. We'll give him 1 year, and careful what you eat, Joe.
I would also mention something else that should be mentioned. And this is my former Democratic self coming out. The women in the Democratic Party are not going to accept a black woman as the first female president of the United States, not out of their party.
And you say this as a former Democrat?
Very racist, these people. Mm-hmm. They like to, that's why they're so, they're adamant about, we got to be racist. Everyone else is a racist but me. This is them again doing that old adage, the Dutch adage, what I say you are is what I am.
Mm-hmm.
And they will not accept, they will vote against any possibility of a black woman becoming the first female president of the United States, when Hillary should have been the first female president, and she was white, and the first female president should be a white woman.
Here comes the swoop! Well, does she still have a chance in hell?
Yeah, I think so.
Oh, gosh.
I mean, there's a couple of odd theories coming out. One of them is that's been promoted is that Joe is going to, once he's nominated, then they can say, well, they could suddenly decide that, the Tara Reid thing is important, or he's going to get corona, he's too old, and they can the party, which the party can do this, can say, well, he's out, we're going to put somebody else in his place at the last minute, and they're going to have to make a decision. Now, some people say that if he did this before he was fully nominated and confirmed, which has to be after August, then all the Bernie bros will get all bent out of shape, because what about us?
Right.
So they can. This way they can get out of the idea of pushing Bernie out of the picture without, hey, we did it the way it was supposed to be done. But they have to, if they're going to replace Joe, who would they replace him with? They can't just out of the blue in September of this year, after all this, Biden, he's great. Even if he can't talk or walk or can't get out of the basement, he's terrific. Who can we replace him with? You can't put anybody else in there.
No.
To replace him without annoying the entire party except Hillary. Tell me my logic's off on this.
No, I think your logic is there. She's coming in for the swoop, ladies and gentlemen. She's ready.
I don't think that they're going to do this, by the way. This is not a theory that I subscribe to. But if they did it, that would be the opportunity to drop Hillary in, because it's the only logical person, because she's already got the campaign mechanism. She's already got the brand name recognition. You can't bring in Amy or anybody else out of the blue and then replace Joe. You'd have to replace him with Bernie, but you could replace him with Hillary and nobody would bitch about it too much.
Look, replace him with Michelle and the Democrats win. That's it. That's it. That's it. Replace.
Oh, that's right.
Replace him with Michelle. It's not my theory. I don't have a theory.
Democrats don't win with Michelle.
I don't have a theory
because, like I said a minute ago, the white Democrat women will not put her in.
And you say that as a former Democrat?
Yes, I'm saying it as a former Democrat. And I still know Democrats, and I know what racists they are. They are not going to do it.
But I don't understand your logic. You're saying they won't let a black woman win. Michelle could easily win this.
I don't know if she could win or not. I don't think so.
Never mind.
You're trying to trick me. Well, let's go back to Joe's.
I'm sorry. That was really bad.
It was. Let's go back to Joe and couple of he's doing these town hall meetings that are basically his podcast.
The shitty podcast.
Yeah, the podcast is no good, but the town hall meetings are interesting. And the town hall meeting consists of him and one person. This is not town hall.
Yeah, it was him and Bill. I'm sorry. Hill. Right. Hillary.
Yeah, him and Hill. And so in fact, I'm surprised this is as long as this is. This is Biden welcoming Hillary. And Biden comes on and welcomes Hillary, who goes off, which, by the way, gives me the idea that she could be the replacement. She goes off the deep end, yak. She can't stop talking. He never gets a word in edgewise.
It looks like he's falling asleep. He's got his eyes closed.
And he's falling asleep.
No, he's not. Can I just say something? He's not. I know what this is because I've paid attention to him doing this before the lockdown. When someone compliments him, he looks down as like he's bashful because he's receiving praise. And maybe deep inside, Joe feels he doesn't deserve it. So he looks down. His eyes are downcast. People think he's falling asleep. No, he's embarrassed by the praise. Whenever someone praises him, that's when he's embarrassed and looks down.
I believe this is true, but it still looks like he's falling asleep.
Really thrilled to have my friend, the former senator and former Secretary of State, and the woman who should be President of the United States right now, Hillary Clinton. Welcome, Hillary. It's great to have you here.
Thank you so much, Joe.
That was a nice intro to say the woman who should have been President of the United States. That's pretty nice. Yeah. That's good.
Welcome, Hillary. It's great to have you here.
Thank you so much, Joe. It's a real pleasure.
And if I may say, I'm sorry, I want to interrupt after this. I think Hillary looked good. I don't know if she's essential personnel, but the hair's working for her. She's doing something with her hair that is new and fresh.
She brought a hairdresser in.
It's new, fresh, and I like it.
To be here with you and to be part of this very important discussion. And I am thrilled to be part of your campaign to not only endorse you, but to help highlight a lot of the issues that are at stake in this presidential election. As you just so rightly said, this terrible pandemic that we're all going through hits a lot of Americans much harder than others. We've seen it firsthand in hospitalizations and in, unfortunately, fatalities. But we've also seen it when we look at the pictures of those people on the front lines. Do you know 80% of all healthcare workers in America are women? And 1 out of 3 jobs held by women in our country has been classified as essential. So this is an issue that affects all of us, young and old, every kind of background from every walk of life. But it is having a disproportionate impact on the front lines.
Man, you're yelling at your own clip.
On women working, on women caring for others, on women holding
I want to hear it.
down the home as we go through this together. So I want to add my voice to the many who have endorsed you to be our president. Just think of what a difference it would make right now if we had a president who not only listened to the science, put facts over fiction, but brought us together, showed the kind of compassion and caring that we need from our president and which Joe Biden has been exemplifying throughout his entire life.
Jeez. Yeah. We're all coming together tomorrow night, by the way. We've got the big Oprah 200 star-studded 24-hour global virus relief event.
Oh, brother.
Oh, yeah. This is going to be great. I think this is the Clooney gang. I think this is where Hillary will be.
No, she'll probably be there.
Here, Oprah, Julia Roberts. Yeah, sorry.
Oh, she'll be the guest. She'll come in late. Oh, hello. I know you're so busy. No, I'm not. I'm stuck at home. I want to go back to a 2008 clip of Biden when he's running as vice president for Obama. And this is Biden 2008. And to me, it just shows you that he's consistent over the years. And it really doesn't hurt to keep picking on him.
Look, last-minute economic plan does nothing to tackle the number one job facing the middle class. And it happens to be, as Barack says, a three-letter word, jobs. Jobs. Jobs.
Especially since that's 4 letters. All right, Joe. Thank you. He's great. You know, the thing that went viral, which was very, and I think this is me showing I'm a Gen Xer, but I could have been a boomer status. Everyone was chuckling and cracking up over this.
I would get much more engaged in the world. We can't step back. If, in fact, for example, we solve the problem in the United States of America and you don't solve it in other parts of the world, you know what's going to happen? You're going to have travel bans. You're going to not be able to have economic intercourse around the world. There's a lot. Look, when America goes.
Now, I grew up, and I remember when I was, I think, 8, and I remember someone, the high school kids, and they were on the bus, and they were like, "Oh, we have conversational intercourse," and I was like, "Oh, you said intercourse."
Yeah, Beavis and Butthead reaction.
You said intercourse. My God, everybody was like, "You said intercourse." Maybe it's just, I mean, the word.
It's a Beavis and Butthead reaction.
Economic intercourse. And I understand that globally people didn't get it because a couple of Dutch people were like, "Oh, man, he's got sex on his mind." So it's an actual word. I mean, it's totally not what you want to use in his position, which is why he used it, no doubt, because the man is fried. He's being accused of forced intercourse. It's another version of intercourse. Forced sexual intercourse, I should say. So, for him to do that was, I mean, wow. The guy, they're going to have to keep him on a leash and put a muzzle on his head. But it was fun to see, since we'll just wrap this up. I have Stacey Abrams, what we talked about. She was on Don Lemon grilling her in the new Don Lemon way. You know, he's been doing this for a while now. He'll come out of a clip and he'll just sit there and look at the camera. And just go, really? Is that really? It's very annoying, unwatchable. And he was doing this to Stacey Abrams regarding the allegations against Joe Biden.
Okay, as someone who wants to be his vice president, I think it's important that we speak about something that's in the news now. As you know, there is a sexual assault allegation against Joe Biden. The accuser, her name is Tara Reid, tells CNN that the alleged incident happened in 1993 while she was working as an aide in Biden's Senate office. She is claiming that she was delivering Biden a duffel bag and says that Biden had her up against the wall in the corridor on the Hill and violated her with his fingers. Now, CNN has now spoken on the record with her former neighbor, who says Reid told her about the allegation within a few years of the alleged incident. Biden's campaign says untrue, never happened. Is this a credible allegation?
I believe that women deserve to be heard, and I believe that they need to be listened to. But I also believe that those allegations have to be investigated by credible sources. The New York Times did a deep investigation, and they found that the accusation was not credible. I believe Joe Biden. I believe that he is a person who has demonstrated that his love of family, his love of our community has been made perfectly clear through his work as a congressional leader and as an American leader. I know Joe Biden, and I think that he is telling the truth and that this did not happen.
So in 2018, you tweeted it was shameful that Brett Kavanaugh's Supreme Court nomination was being rushed forward and survivors of violence like Christine Blasey Ford deserve to have their voices heard. Are you applying a different standard now?
By the way, good on Don Lemon. He's asking the right questions.
Not at all. I believe then and I believe now that women deserve to be heard because too often they are not. And Tara Reade deserved to have her story listened to and investigated.
Now, that's it. That's exactly. I just want to stop there because that is what you're getting from your fellow women. Women, this is what your feminists are doing. I believe all women should be heard. You know what that means, right? They just, okay, I heard you. Get out of the way. And she keeps repeating that. I am offended by it. Oh, I believe all women should be heard. Well, of course they should be heard. If she got allegations. By the way, I haven't seen her being heard much on CNN or MSNBC or ABC or CBS or NBC News. No, so women are not being heard.
A different standard now?
Not at all. I believe then and I believe now that women deserve to be heard because too often they are not. And Tara Reade deserved to have her story listened to and investigated. What was happening to Christine Blasey Ford was that there was no investigation. There was a rush to move the conversation forward so that no investigation was conducted. And as I said, I believe that those allegations needed to be investigated. And I believe that the New York Times and subsequent reports support what the Biden campaign has said. And I believe Joe Biden.
So she stumbles over the whole bit at the end there, which is pretty sad. And again, the investigation she's referring to, both Brett Kavanaugh, who was confirmed as a Supreme Court justice, were investigated by the New York Times, whatever that means, because it's not law enforcement, it's the New York Times. And the New York Times, what did they come up with about Brett Kavanaugh? Well, I couldn't really find anyone who said anything, but it sure sounded right, and maybe, I don't know, And the New York Times investigated these allegations and literally said the Times found no pattern of sexual misconduct by Mr. Biden beyond the hugs, kisses, and touching that women previously said made them uncomfortable. Yeah, which the New York Times
had to take that down.
Now, why did they take it down? We have a quote from the author of the article, Baquet, B-A-Q-U-E-T. Who's this guy? You know him, Baquet?
No.
Dean Baquet.
He's the editor of the place.
Oh, he's the editor. Well, yeah. he explains the deletion. I'm quoting. Even though a lot of us, including me, had looked at it before the story went into the paper, I think that the campaign thought the phrasing was awkward and made it look like there were other instances in which he'd been accused of sexual misconduct, and that's not what the sentence was intended to say. So he changed that based on what the campaign thought? The editor of the New York Times? I think that the campaign thought the phrasing was awkward and made it look like there were other instances in which he'd been accused of other sexual misconduct. And that's why they took it out, because the campaign thought that. Or he thinks the campaign thought that. Doesn't matter. Why are you thinking of the campaign, Mr. Editor?
That's really bad.
To admit that? What's wrong with the guy?
Yeah, that's really bad. He should be fired immediately.
Now, for a moment about getting back and opening up, I mean, you had all these clips about, we had a number of clips, and the first responders and the grocery workers and the firemen and the police. And quite frankly, it's most people who keep the whole damn world running. I'd like to add to that dude's name, Ben, Dudette's name, Bernadette.
Yeah, they're never mentioned.
Network admins, people managing your damn Netflix so you don't buffer and cry. A lot of people doing that work. But for some reason, people are so freaked out that they become completely irrational. So how can you be very cool with all these people in your grocery store? And I don't think we've seen a lot of people get sick and die in the food business, in the grocery shopping business. Do we have numbers? Have we heard anything?
No, the numbers apparently are quite low. And only the food packing business do we have numbers.
Right.
I want to
wait.
give you my anecdote.
I'm leading up to a clip, and you're just jumping in and stealing it from me.
Well, it's because I'm going to lead up to. Because I'm so irked.
Okay.
I'm at Costco. I'm there, and I'm at least 10 feet away from the guy.
Wait, are you inside or outside? Where are you? Inside, outside?
Inside, on the line to get out, to check out.
Uh-huh. You got your mask? You got your mask?
I got my mask on.
Okay.
Everybody's got a mask on. I'm 10 feet away from the counter because I'm just back. And this woman starts screaming at me. The woman, a Costco woman, big fat Costco chick. She's going... Get back on the Star!
Oh, you went on the Star.
I wasn't on the Star. I was 10 feet away.
You were not
I wasn't on the Star. These people all want to work for TSA, or they're ex-TSA people. I don't know what they are, but I find it, okay, I'll back up an inch.
I got that at the Whole Foods a couple of weeks ago. I wasn't on the Star.
Were they screaming at you like this maniac was screaming
No,
at me?
I got a curt, please. Question, can we name the show Big Fat Costco Chick? Because I think that will really work well for SEO. just checking with you. So this is but you're right. It's that kind of insanity. I don't see people yelling. I just don't see the danger. I don't see the results of it. I'm not seeing what was supposed to be happening. There are millions of people working in grocery stores, in big box stores. Fantastic. I'm so happy they're doing that. But the people they're serving are people who are freaking out, like your Costco lady. You may have seen this video. As a teacher walking. She's walking her dog, by the way. She's outside. She's walking her dog. Two kids are in a playground, and she goes off on it.
Screaming loud enough that you can hear me over your music?
Wait, can we go over there?
Is that crazy enough for you?
Can we go over there?
Close the whole area. Get it through your thick head. You are the reason we are in this situation. You are the problem, not the solution. Go ahead, keep recording. Who are you going to show it to? Post me on social media. You're the idiot doing the wrong thing. I'm just trying to save your ass and save your life. But die, okay? I hope both of you get the coronavirus. I hope you both die a long, painful death.
Cool.
Of course, every high school kid will like, oh, cool, I'll die a painful death of corona. But it's just not logical. It's the fear. And I think that if you've missed certain elements, for instance, if you have not had some other input and all you've seen is maybe NBC, ABC, but worse, if you're watching MSNBC or CNN and Fox, then you are going to freak out. But it's illogical because you go into the grocery store and think everything's okay because someone's wearing a mask and standing on the Star. So it's odd, and it's going to be very ugly with a lot of people. And I think there's going to be a lot of these situations where, again, let's get in front of this shit, John. Let's get those bracelets out there. If I could just, excuse me, ma'am. Can you see? Verified COVID-19 antibodies. Okay? So I'm okay here. I don't have to be...
I suffered for you, lady.
I'm going to show my support by donating to No Agenda. Imagine all the people who could do that. Oh yeah, that'd be fab. Yeah, on No Agenda in the morning.
And indeed, we have a few people to thank for show 1238. And starting with Sir Kelly Spongberg in Alberta. The Rocky Mountain House, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. A note I will read. Happy birthday to my smoking hot wife, Dame Andrea Garnier. Is it Garnier or Garnier? Garnier. She is indispensable in keeping our store open during the zombie apocalypse and keeping me sane. She is instrumental in getting our FedEx and Canpar Courier Depot agreements. This made us an essential business according to the Alberta government rules. It's like she's from the future. Black Knights or Kelly. Good. Rocky Mountain House. Mr. Cheap's next on the list in Phoenixville, 12345, which is the same as Kelly. Phoenixville, Pennsylvania. Keep me anonymous. He must be Mr. Cheap. Sir Herb Lamb, Viscount of Georgia, Baron of Buford Dam in Sugar Hill, Georgia.
Boob.
8008, Boob, Sugar Hill. Sean Brown in Ruskin, Florida, 6969. Sir Grebulon. Grebulon's back. 6969. Peter Chong comes in with 6868 and says, happy birthday, John. You're welcome. Gary Blatt, Wayne, Pennsylvania, 6660. Jeff Holland in Winter Springs, Florida, 6633. Paul Schmeider in Slacks Creek, Queensland, 65. Joshua Schmidt in Norwood, Young America. What? Norwood, Young America, Minnesota?
Mm-hmm. Not
by the way, Paul Schmidt, Schmeider.
Schmeider.
I think he wants a de-douching.
Yeah, no problem.
You've been de-douched.
I'm noticing back here, you're not looking at the notes. I'm looking back here, Jeff Holland in Winter Springs, Florida needed a de-doucing he's got.
You've been de-douched.
Sorry, I was prepping for after the segment. I'm doing 20 things at once. I'm sorry.
I know, but you always tell me you're reading these notes.
I know.
Sean Brown in Ruskin, Florida needs a de-douching.
Okay.
You've been de-douched.
Lots of de-douchings.
Yeah, they're all over the place. I'm looking back for if there's any more back there. Okay. Joshua Schmidt, David Wilhelm in Prunedale, California, 5555. Robert Bruckner, Gilbert, Arizona. Aaron Panko in Green Bay, Wisconsin. Let's see what he says.
He wants a proper de-douching. Got a de-douching.
You've been de-douched.
Now I'm paying attention.
E.C. Campbell in Boise, Idaho. 5510 needs a de-douching.
Yes, indeed.
You've been de-douched.
Lots of de-douches.
Samantha Rogers, Temperance, Michigan, 55.
She says,
wants a call out to Ryan Winkleman.
Her husband has been listening to the podcast religiously. I think this is a surprise. Hey, baby, I'm listening too. I'm donating.
And she's donating.
Sweet. Very
nice.
She
didn't call you a douchebag.
No, of course not.
Scott of the Tall Corn, Davenport, Iowa, 5433. Greg Nuzzo in Warrenville, Illinois. Got a happy birthday coming up for his brother. Sir Don Barron of New Hampshire in the Merrimack Valley in Windham, New Hampshire. Back-to-back donations at Windham. Yeah, 5111. Anonymous, $51 with a birthday call out. Sir Scott Nelson of Melbourne, Florida, 5001. The following people are $50 donors. Name and location. Jeffrey Zellen in Oakland, Michigan. Christopher Kessler in Marshfield, Wisconsin. Joanne Brady in Phoenix, Arizona. Juggler Ted.
He wrote a long note. And
he wrote an extremely long note, which we're not going to read, but because there's a lot of it's about testing and some other things. But he doesn't make this. I want to read part of it. I've been a douchebag most of the time because he's been at like 1,000 shows. And for what it's worth, I'm a douchebag. But No Agenda is very important to me. But most of the time I've been listening, I've been unemployed or minimally employed. Or like the last few years, barely self-employed, juggling and entertaining occasionally. The $50 I am paying you now comes from the government stimulus of the $1,200.
Hold on a second. Back up. Juggling and entertaining occasionally. That sounds cool.
Yeah.
That's an interesting vocation.
That he would put it as he's juggling, I am juggling, and now I'll be entertaining doing something else. As if the juggling is not entertaining, which a lot of people believe is true, by the way.
I think juggling is highly entertaining.
I love juggling.
Thank you very much for your support, Juggler Ted. And we're going to give you a de-douching, and I'm going to hit him up with a karma.
You've been de-douched.
Why not?
You've got karma.
We're crazy today.
Holly Taylor in Scottsdale, Arizona, $50. And she's says we're the biggest source of hope and laughter in these dark times.
Good.
That's pathetic, isn't it, Holly?
It is kind of sad.
Richard Gardner, Sir Richard Gardner, $50. David in West Lafayette, Indiana. He's one of the biggest D-bags, he says. And
I'd like to read this. I'd like to read this. John and Adam, I'm one of the biggest D-bags in the history of the show and have empirical data to prove it. Thank you all for the wonderful content I've enjoyed over the years, especially during this first ever quarantine of healthy persons. By the way, I recently followed Adam's advice of telling my wife, hey, nice and easy, just relax, a la Donald Trump to the CBS reporter when she was yelling at me. Despite the clear directive, I can report that using this phrase had the exact opposite effect on my wife. I highly recommend that No Agenda listeners not use this phrase when arguing with their significant others.
Yeah. I believe this to be an absolute fact. The proper phrase is, yes, dear, I'm sorry.
Exactly. We all know how it's supposed to go.
Try that one.
I always try, I was wrong.
I was wrong. Yeah, I was wrong.
If I was wrong, I'll say I was wrong.
I was wrong already.
I don't get to say it very often.
Okay.
Because we don't have any arguments, that's why.
That's David. He's the last one, but then we have just a $12 donation, which actually does have a note to be read. Which is because he's getting knighted.
Yeah, this is Brian Wright. He says it's been a long road, but my $12.12 subscription has put me, for a while now, over the threshold for knighthood. See, I love how that works. My donation has been going since 2012 without interruption. I don't know what episode I started listening, but thankfully my roommate at the time turned me onto you guys, and thankfully my amygdala has been properly sized for many years now. I've been using the show notes in an attempt to enlighten those that are too blinded by the mainstream media and the Democrat talking points. Some Republican talking points you need to watch out for, too. I was finally unfriended by a longtime friend after congratulating them for their medical degree after they claimed the COVID-19 death rate is much higher than they say because she's experienced reading death certificates while doing genealogy research. She likened it to the AIDS epidemic where doctors and coroners would not list AIDS or HIV on death certificates so as not to embarrass the families. Interesting. And he has accounting. I would like to swear my fealty to Sir Vince, Baron of Floribama, protector of the Florida Panhandle and Alabama coast. Thanks from the soon-to-be knighted Sir Brian of Mobile Bay. And I'd like to call out my coworker William as a douchebag. Douchebag. Finally got him listening. He's been hooked.
Is it mobile or mobile?
I don't know if it's mobile or mobile. No. It's Mobile. I thought it was in Florida. Yeah, it's in Alabama. That's Mobile. It's Mobile, Alabama, for sure. Thanks. Would like to call him a coworker. Finally got him listening. He's been hooked. Pretty sure he hasn't donated yet. And well, thank you very much, Brian. We'll see you at the round table. And thank all of you.
Well, before you thank all of them, I want to get these two missing in action notes out of the way.
Okay.
Noted the other day. We got most of them done, but we don't have Taylor Butchers of Lewiston, Montana's note. I want to read it. I apologize for the confusion over last Sunday's donation. I got busy being essential and forgot to send my note. I appreciate the dedouching I received on Sunday's show, and I'll tell you what, it feels good to know that I'm no longer a douchebag. Speaking of douchebags, I'd like to call out my brother Andrew Butcher. Douchebag. My dad, Ross Butcher. Douchebag. My friends Ken Shaver. Douchebag. And Mark Campbell. Douchebag. As douchebag. Pony up, ladies. It's time to pitch in. I'm a dude, by the way. You almost misgendered me in the last show. I'd appreciate a karma. Yeah, well, Taylor is a tough name. I'd appreciate a karma and a dealer's choice of Sharpton. I think this was a high number, so you have to do this for him. Thank you, Taylor Butcher of Lewiston, Montana.
Can always do a Sharpton.
President Trump said that because of the killing of al-Baghdadi, that the world is a better place.
He always delights.
Finally, make good. I don't want this to fully just get further and further away from the show. I donated on 12/35. We'll donate again, but I'd like to know for the future if this is a fact. Email subject line, because I've been completely ignored after attempting a reasonable strategy of contact. This should be, but it says context between you and John. I don't know who you is. It must be you. So for the record, I donated 212 Canadian, and this works out to be 145 American, which should have been bumped up to associate executive producer, which I guess it wasn't done. If either of you could please clarify this, yes.
But I think we did.
I think we did bump him.
I think we did bump him. Yeah, and maybe we didn't mention it, but yes, of course it is. And this is the email that I received from. I didn't receive anything else that I saw. So I forwarded this to the back office, and here we are. You're made good. You're made whole. We got a back end deal for you.
Well, he still wants to know if we could clarify. Clarify what?
If I think he means if the dollarettes still go 1 for 1. So yes, answer yes. And thank you to these producers and all the producers who came in under $50. Some for anonymity, but thank goodness people are signing up for those subscriptions. It's really important to help a lot, particularly in the longer run when we have slower weeks. There's always some base to bounce off of, so please consider that. And thank you all for producing the best podcast in the universe. It's your No Agenda show, and we'll be doing it again on Sunday.
Dvorak.org/NA.
I'm sure someone will be needing some jobs.
Jobs, and jobs. Let's vote for jobs.
You've got karma.
It's your birthday. Oh, no agenda.
Last day of the month, and here's what we have birthday-wise. Sir Kelly Spongberg says happy birthday to his smoking hot wife, Dame Andrea Garnier. Craig Nuzzo, happy birthday to his brother Scott. He celebrated on the 27th. Abby Venska, happy birthday to her smoking hot husband, Brad Horowitz. He celebrates today. Yesterday, Sean Brown is celebrating today. Anonymous says happy birthday to his smoking hot girlfriend, Amanda. Her birthday today. And Kimberly Singleton says happy birthday to her husband, Timothy Singleton. Knight of all the swimming pools. It's his birthday tomorrow. And we say happy birthday from everybody here at the best podcast in the universe. Yeah. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3 nights, 1 dame. I'm ready. Blades. Here we go. Oops. Whoa. You sliced right through the tape. That was weird. Could you pull it out again?
Yeah, it's over here.
Thank you. All right, up on the round table. The podium, that is. Please, Gail Fuller, Ted Gartland, Greg Van Mullum, and Brian Wright. All of you now become members of the No Agenda Roundtable of the Knights and the Dames, thanks to your support of $1,000 or more. And I'm very proud to pronounce the KC. Dame Gail, the Twin Mominator, Ted Garland, Sir Ted of the Leak Detection and Ozone Hole Mitigation, Sir Greg, the Bakersfield Knight, and Sir Brian of Mobile Bay. For you, we've got Hookers and Blow, Rent Boys, and Chardonnay. We also have aphids and other garden pests, iced chai latte, tea lattes, peace and quiet, and loud pickup trucks and open source code. And I ran out of music, but we, of course, have right over there, you see, the mutton and mead. So congratulations. Welcome to the round table of the Knights and Dames. We've got a great ring for you. You've got your sealing wax, your certificate, and the pride of being part of peerage. Please go to noagendanation.com/rings. Fill out some info there so we can get it off to you as soon as possible. And thank you again for supporting and producing the best podcast in the universe, The No Agenda Show.
So Trump decided to, or somebody dig up an old, this is a pre-COVID clip. And I think it was taken by somebody visiting the White House. I'm not even sure. I never saw it before. And it went around the Twitters and got everybody all bent out of shape. And it was a classic Trump troll.
Which one was it?
And I want to play it. This is the one that's titled, Trump is a Young Man.
I just feel like a young man. I'm so young. I can't believe it. I'm the youngest person. I am a young, vibrant man. I look at Joe. I don't know about him. I don't know. I would never say anyone's too old, but I know they're all making me look very young, both in terms of age and I think in terms of... I just feel like a young man. I'm so young. I can't believe it. I'm the youngest person.
That's a bad edit.
Do you want me to continue?
No, it's just to say that's the clip.
It doubled? Okay.
Yeah, just somehow
that's what you get for ripping it off of Twitter. They repeat.
Yeah,
it repeats.
I don't like taking clips from Twitter because the people who edit them and put them up, they always have the end clipped off. Very poorly done.
It was interesting. A number of interesting press briefings, and the president, as always, has his shills in there. We had the Breitbart shill. We also had, once again, One America News shill. He always calls on them to load up on a particular topic.
Mr. President, thank you. As I'd like to switch gears and talk about General Flynn. There are reports circulating now that he may well be fully exonerated this week. If that were the case, is there any reason why you would not bring him back into the administration?
I will only say this. I think that General Flynn is a wonderful man. He had a wonderful career, and it was a disgrace what happened to General Flynn. Let's see what happens now. But what happened to General Flynn should never happen again in our country. What happened to other people should never happen again in our country. What happened to your President of the United States should never again be allowed to happen.
And what is happening is some interesting stuff in the background. Was it yesterday afternoon? Documents were released that show very clearly that General Flynn was at least there was an attempt to frame him.
Yeah. Well, Nunes, I have the Nunes clip. Nunes went on a couple of the shows, and he had something to say about this.
Okay, Nunes.
Why is General Flynn important? Because on Friday night, thankfully, Attorney General Barr has appointed a U.S. attorney out of Missouri to look into, what was going on in some of these investigations. And now we don't know what was submitted to the court on Friday evening, but we believe that it's possibly exculpatory evidence that the government had on General Flynn. Okay, and remember, in our report, the report which the House Republican report from 2018, it's the gold standard, of reports. If you look at all the other reports, whether it's, the intelligence community assessment, whether it's the Mueller report, whether it's the Steele DNC dossier, those are all a joke, right? And the media, has been promoting this Russia hoax for so long. And the reality, you have the former head of the DIA, who has been strung up here for year after year after year. And what was now likely, we're going to find out, he was framed. Imagine that, being framed by our own government and by political operatives who don't like you. And I think that's what we're going to find out.
Yeah, and I think we are going to find out. And the guy to tell us, the only one who has all the inside scoop, who knows about the thousands and thousands of sealed indictments is...
We know that the Attorney General, Bill Barr, has ordered an independent review of the Flynn case. In other words, people not at the Justice Department, main justice, who were directly involved in the case. And he handed it off to the U.S. Attorney for the Eastern District of Missouri, a guy named Rosen, who was a former FBI agent. That lawyer sent a pile of material from the Flynn case files to the U.S. Attorney in D.C., Tim Shea, who then sent it to Sidney Powell, who based her pleading on those documents. What's interesting about this is that information did not come, allegedly exculpatory information, did not come from the lead attorney prosecuting Michael Flynn, Brendan Van Grock. It came from the person that Barr appointed, the U.S. Attorney in the Eastern District of Missouri. It is then, just as that story is coming out, a story appears saying that Chris Wray and his general counsel at the FBI, Dana Buente, did everything they could to block the production of that information to General Flynn's lawyer. The source for that story, according to the press, were an FBI official, and that means there's a mole at FBI headquarters.
That's my favorite part. There's a mole at FBI headquarters.
guy's just out of control.
Well, I like that Joe did kind of give us an overview, and he talks, as you know, there's another hour and a half I could easily play, but no, we're not going to do that. But this is playing in the background, and it's going to be interesting to see what happens. The FBI appears to have been really, really, really bad, doing some really bad stuff.
This is not new.
Yeah, but now we have documents, and the documents are good. The documents
we'll see how far it gets. I want to play something else was kind of a buzz during the week.
Yeah.
Which was, then this again is a little clip, very short clip. This is the Howard Stern clip where he tells everyone I have a question to you, a question for you I want to ask after this clip. You play it.
Say fuck this coronavirus with all of his followers and let them all hug each other and kiss each other and have a big rally.
Big cocktail of disinfectant.
Yeah, and all take disinfectant and all drop dead.
That's just Stern. I mean, he's always been like that.
But here's the question.
Oh.
Now, I always thought that because Stern was, the way he approaches things, that he came out with in support of Joe Biden. I guess anyone could do that, but it seems to me I've always thought his audience would be more of a Trump type audience because of the nature of the way he interviews and the way he kind of more of a working class rough and tumble group, not a bunch of Joe Biden types. So what's wrong with my thinking here?
Okay, all right. Your thinking is not wrong. And first, to go back to what I said, you remember when when he was still at DC 101, when I think it was American Airlines that crashed into the bridge and those people died in the icy waters right in DC?
I don't remember.
They were talking like early 80s. And he called up, I think it was American, he called up American Airlines the day that took place and said, hey, can I get a ticket one way to the bridge? So it's Stern. He did shit like that. And it was like, okay. What changed with Howard Stern is he got married, remarried. And I think her name is Beth. She might as well be named Karen. Let's put it that way. And I was actually talking with Joe Rogan about this after I did his show. He said that he also hired a woman as a CEO of the show, and she immediately started putting people into different offices, and Baba Booey is somewhere in a hallway and full big power plays, and there's even tape of Stern out there saying, let's just register fake accounts on Twitter to promote the show. Completely the opposite of what Howard Stern represented. And he's been, maybe this was always his feeling, but he's definitely all in on, he was all in on Hillary, all in on Democrats. The show is, I catch it once in a while in the car. But it's really, I think ever since they went to Sirius, it wasn't that funny. And I think that, he's also been in therapy for years, and it's changed him. Now, he may be a more likable person to live with at home. I think he probably was a real dick. But I do not think the audience appreciates the direction he's going. His core audience. Does that answer your question? It's always a woman who ruins it, John. That's the end of the story.
That more than answers my question. I really appreciate that background.
You're more than welcome. Let's again
get brought out the point that you got. This is actually based on inside information.
Yes,
you got from Joe.
Well, we were analyzing it,
or inside gossip that you got from Joe.
He was more, yeah. It was like two old wives. I only have one little set left to talk about. I think it's important. They're short clips generally because
I have the closing clip.
Okay, good. You hold on to that. Monday briefing. The president again gets one of his buddies to kick off the question and answer that he wants to hear. Breitbart is on deck.
President Charlie Spearing from Breitbart News. And a majority of polls show that Americans blame China for the spread of the coronavirus, and yet they're taking advantage of the crisis to make the world more dependent on their supply chains. How do you hold China accountable, and how do you keep our country
Well, Charlie, there are a lot of ways you can hold them accountable. We're doing very serious investigations, as you probably know. And we are not happy with China. We are not happy with that whole situation because we believe it could have been stopped at the source. It could have been stopped quickly, and it wouldn't have spread all over the world. And we think that should have happened. So we'll let you know at the appropriate time, but we are doing serious investigations. If you look prior to this virus, the deficit was coming way down under my administration because I put massive tariffs on China. We took in tens of billions of dollars, gave some of it to the farmers who were unfairly targeted by China. Nobody's ever done that before. We never took in 10 cents from China. Now, all of a sudden, I think you know very well, we've taken in tens of billions of dollars. I helped the farmers by giving them 2 years ago $12 billion, all coming from China. And we had plenty left over, too. And then the following year, $16 billion. And this year, we're also going to help our farmers. But nobody's ever done a thing like that because they were targeted unfairly by China. So we're doing a very strong investigation, and we'll let you know what the result of that is. We should be able to get the answers to.
Oh, so he's signaling very clearly that stuff is going to get done. Stuff needs to happen. I did pull a little ISO from this just as on a lark.
And we are not happy.
I don't know if that's any good. Probably not good for end of show. A lot happened during this Monday briefing. And he kept on bringing it back to China as much as possible.
If you would have said, with the tragedy that this country had to endure and go through, with all of the death and the people that died and were so badly hurt by what happened, and you can only say God bless them, but if you would have said that our country would be in the position we're now, we're ready to move forward, we'll never forget loved ones, will never forget these great people that sacrificed for a reason of incompetence or something else other than incompetence, what happened at a point where they could have protected the whole world, not just us, the whole world. But we had the greatest economy ever in the history of our world.
And still pointing towards China. And then we get this.
Following up on Charlie's question on making China, holding them responsible, Germany sent a bill to China for $130 billion.
It's hard to hear, and you also probably didn't see this in many news briefings. Germany is talking about suing China for this for 130 billion euros. This is the only time I heard it. I've not heard this reported yet. This reporter asked the question, and of course she wants to know if we're thinking of suing China. This has gone a lot further, I believe, than the media in the United States is reporting. These CCP-controlled media, possibly. Yes?
I was going to say I want to mention something, which is that if you haven't noticed, and I've been noticing it, I didn't have any clips to back this up, but everybody is now starting to blame everybody else for example, the Canadian government says that the United States is responsible for the Canadian cases. And Cuomo, of course, already said that, no, they didn't come from China. You know, you're starting to see more and more of this buildup of the corona problems in various countries is not China's fault, even though that's where case one is. It's everybody else's fault. So the Chinese media is actually managing to do what you just said.
I made a mistake. It's not the German government that wants to sue China, but Bild magazine. So they're getting there. That's too bad. I should have known that. That's not as good. But we'll take it and listen to the president's response.
Following up on Charlie's question on making China, holding them responsible, Germany sent a bill to China for $130 billion, 130 billion euros for the damages caused by the coronavirus. Would your administration look at doing the same?
Well, we could do something.
That's very interesting. It's even more interesting to me now where she does say Bild. I didn't hear that. She said a German magazine is suing China. Will you do the same? Like, is a magazine? Like, will the U.S.?
Well, we could do something much easier than that. We have ways of doing things a lot easier than that. But
we have ways of hurting you.
Germany's looking at things, and we're looking at things, and we're talking about a lot more money than Germany's talking about. Yeah, please go ahead.
Mr. President,
we haven't determined the final amount yet.
Thank you, Mr. President.
It's very substantial. If you look at the world, I mean, this is world.
Did you hear what he said? We haven't determined the final amount yet. So he's serious. He's thinking of levying some kind of extra tariff or something, but he's beyond considering it. He's thinking of the amount.
Please go ahead.
Mr. President,
we haven't determined the final amount yet.
Thank you, Mr. President.
It's very substantial. If you look at the world, I mean, this is worldwide damage. This is damage to the U.S., but this is damage to the world. Yeah, please.
Okay, so we have the German magazine. Of course, in a way, they want to represent the German public because of the problem that this caused. They are pointing the finger at Germany. Das Bild now, of course, according to every website I'm looking at, is a crazy right-wing publication. Not at all the biggest in Germany, but they are. Let's go over to the World Health Organization and see what they're thinking about China. Our good buddy Tedros, the body bag Tedros, he did a presser right after returning from China just a couple days ago.
As you know, I was in China just a few days ago, where I met with President Xi Jinping. I left in absolutely no doubt about China's commitment to transparency and to protecting the world's people, and which has been met by an unprecedented response. As I have said repeatedly since my return from Beijing, the Chinese government is to be congratulated for the extraordinary measures it has taken to contain the outbreak, despite the severe social and economic impact those measures are having on the Chinese people. The speed with which China detected the outbreak, isolated the virus, sequenced the genome, and shared it with WHO and the world are very impressive and beyond words. So is China's commitment to transparency and to supporting other countries. In many ways, China is actually setting a new standard for outbreak response, and it's not an exaggeration. This declaration is not a vote of no confidence in China. On the contrary, WHO continues to have a confidence in China's capacity to control the outbreak.
Sounds reasonable to me.
Wow, that was a great clip.
The guy's just all in. He's just, and that's it. That's your Chinese connection. The world is mad, and he's like, no. But there's one other small item. And the item is the lab and the funding of the lab and where the money came from and who approved it. And that's probably where the virus came from. And Dr. Fauci was asked about this.
Mr. President, U.S. intelligence is saying this week that the coronavirus likely came from a level 4 lab in Wuhan. There's also another report that the NIH, under the Obama administration in 2015, gave that lab $3.7 million in a grant. Why would the U.S. give a grant like that to China?
The Obama administration gave them a grant of $3.7 million. I've been hearing about that. And we've instructed that if any grants are going to that area, we're looking at it literally about an hour ago and also early in the morning. We will end that grant very quickly. But it was granted quite a while ago. They were granted a substantial amount of money. We're going to look at it and take a look. But I understand it was a number of years ago, right?
So you
When did you hear the grant was made?
2015.
2015. Who was president then? I wonder.
Well, I went searching for this and I trying to find the money trail. There's no, as far as I can find out, there's no direct transfer of money from the United States government to the Wuhan viral lab. No, it's much easier than that. The guy who you will see showing up defending whatever went down there at the lab is the CEO or the executive director of a non-governmental organization, which is the same as a nonprofit. They run under the same tax laws, i.e. they don't have to pay any tax. It's called the EcoHealth Alliance. And the EcoHealth Alliance is, let me see.
Isn't this the guy that we had that clip on from the Amy Goodman show?
Do you remember?
I had that guy, the apologist. He was a part of this, and he was defending this lab all over the place.
Is it Peter Daszak? D-A-S-Z-A-K?
I don't remember who it was.
Would that be? Would you have put that in the title of it?
Probably not. Maybe, but I don't know. Because usually, what I'll do with a Democracy Now! Clip is she introduces the guy's name. I won't necessarily put it in the title of the clip.
Well,
sorry.
Peter Daszak has been running this foundation after an illustrious career, of course, for a number of years. He actually works at the lab in Wuhan as the sole director and only full-time employee of the EcoHealth Alliance, who received...
Yeah, I think it's the same guy.
It probably was. Who received $4 million. That's a little more than 3.7. He paid himself $336,000. This is the money. It's the $4 million that came from NIH, and he spends it and doles it out wherever he feels appropriate, mainly in the lab. And this guy is doing the rounds. He's very worried about this. And so is Fauci, because it was $3.7 million in 2015, and there's another 3.7 that was just, or that had been approved, or probably won't be paid out now. These guys haven't put their 2019 Form 990 up, so I can't investigate it. But it's just a pass-through. The money comes from NIH, goes into the EcoHealth Alliance nonprofit, and then this Daszak, D-A-S-Z-A-K guy, he starts doling it out. And they were doing exactly this kind of research with gain of function on bat virus, on coronavirus. And Trump knows this.
So thank you all very much. It's incredible what we've done together over a short period of time. I want to thank our Vice President for the task force and the work. Every day it gets better, and we had a fantastic call with the governors today. And I would say that they are as thrilled as they can be, considering that the fact is that there has been so much unnecessary death in this country. It could have been stopped, and it could have been stopped short, but somebody a long time ago, it seems, decided not to do it that way, and the whole world is suffering because of it. 184 countries at least.
If I were Fauci, I'd be very worried.
I think Fauci's going to have a long-term problem. The reason my understanding from just reading a lot of stuff is that the Wuhan lab has been getting a lot of American money because some laws were passed preventing our labs, or Dietrich, from developing chimeras.
And from this kind of research, for this very reason, that it's unnecessarily dangerous. Yes. And that's these guys. That's the Daszak team. And this money.
Well, it'll come out eventually in the wash. But as we lead into this last clip, I do want to debunk, or I'm gonna let the spokesperson debunk a situation, a rumor, a gossipy kind of thing that went out there, claiming that the real conspiracy behind the COVID was so the government could recharge the fake birds that are used as drones.
The birds aren't real, man.
And so we got the bird. We actually have the spokesperson for the birds are not real operation to explain that this isn't true because it's not necessary.
Hey guys, just coming on here real quick to address some posts we've been seeing which are suggesting the government is using this time period, this quarantine time, to replace the batteries in bird drones while everyone's in their houses. This virus is really serious, guys. It's really not the time to be spreading misinformation on the internet. So as the official movement, we figured it was our responsibility to come on here and set the record straight. The government is not changing out bird drone batteries during this quarantine. Because birds are rechargeable. Birds charge on power lines. Bird drones don't have conventional batteries like we're used to, okay? These are advanced cyber organisms. They don't take AA's. So the entire concept of changing batteries really doesn't even apply here, and the government doesn't even need a quarantine to do drone maintenance. They've been doing it right above your nose your entire life. This is our official statement on the matter. Stay healthy and stay woke.
Stay woke. Sounds legit, John.
Yep.
Sounds perfectly good. They do. And they're now they can do wireless recharging with the new 5G mast that just went up while we weren't looking.
They could do that, but the birds really do like those wires.
Coming up after the show on NoAgendaStream.com, we go down to the basement for Nick the Rat. End of show mixes from Sir Dave in Dimension B, Matthew Hertert, Danny Luce, Jesse Coy Nelson, Tom Starkweather. It's a cornucopia of mixes for the end of show. And a reminder that Bitcoin halvening happens in 12 days, more or less. You can already see the interesting action taking place. And a reminder to support us. Go to Dvorak.org/NA. Coming to you from the almost no longer locked down Opportunity Zone 33 here in the frontier of Austin, Texas. We're getting ready to get out, go back to work, get eating. In the morning, everybody, I'm Adam Curry.
And from northern Silicon Valley, where we're shut down for another month. Why? John C. Dvorak.
We will return with no answer to that probably on Sunday, right here on No Agenda. Till then, adios, mofos and such.
Lockdown, down, 2020. Lockdown, down, 2020. But the podcaster, let him through, let him go.
What makes you think you know more than the experts in Washington, D.C.? They told us to be in China, and they're not. What makes you think you know more?
Anarchy! What if China finds out? Nightmare! Anarchy! What if China finds out?
Refried beans, man.
Down!
There will be cake.
2020!
Choke on the toilet paper.
Lockdown!
Douchebag.
2020! Nightmare! Podcaster, let him through, let him go. Lockdown! 2020!
It's a clear, visible within 24 hours of how the Republicans reject science and reject governance. If you don't believe in science, they don't believe in governance, that's their approach. And we do not. We have way more government than we need, but we know that governance has a role. And we know that science has a role. And without science in our decision-making, we are not going to be on a very successful path.
I don't think we had any idea how much damage he would go on to do. There are 50,000 Americans now who are dead because of his incompetence.
Of course they are, but that's from media telling them to. I am telling them sheltering in place decreases your immune system. And then as we all come out of shelter in place with a lower immune system and start trading viruses and bacteria, what do you think is going to happen? Disease is going to spike. And then you've got disease spike amongst the hospital system with furloughed doctors and nurses. This is not the combination we want to set up for a healthy society. It doesn't make any sense.
You assume everyone has the virus and it's just asymptomatic. You want casinos open, Vegas back in business. Is that a responsible call to make?
I'm doing fine because the people see we're doing a great job. And you know what? We'll continue to do a great job. If we had an honest press, this country would be even greater. Thank you. Thank you very much.
The president is asking people to inject Lysol into their lungs. Candy and injecting disinfectants like Lysol.
Oh, wow.
This is something you can get through the mail. Injecting disinfectants like Lysol.
Oh, wow.
Other people in our family go for some other flavors. And injecting disinfectants like Lysol.
Oh, wow.
Chocolate, and then we have some other chocolate here. And Lysol.
Since you've been isolating in your house, how much of your regular diet do you think is ice cream and candy?
And injecting disinfectants like Lysol. As much as possible. It is, I enjoy it. I like it better than anything else. It seems to agree with me. I have a lot of energy.
Oh, wow.
And we just got to restock Lysol right for Easter Sunday because we were, shall we say, enjoying Lysol. I don't know what I would have done if Lysol were not invented.
I agree. I don't know who I am without it.
Sun is out. We're going to do this.
I'm going to start to mask up as I do.
500 million masks coming in. I'm going to go to them and say, what happened here? Why didn't it happen? And how can we fix it?
We have a sleepy guy in a basement of a house.
I'm not saying people would think they're invincible, but they have to be really clear.
The game could be just at halftime. You look at that overall curve, that is the mountain, little perspective.
I don't think it's too soon, no. I think it's about right on time.
We'll be rolling, phase at a time.
33 was the number from this morning.
But the data are not going to change. Some of the numbers may change a little, but the conclusion will not change.
It was tough love. It was anger and frustration.
And lots of things are happening, right?
Only in this crazy reality.
Where's Scalia? He has very good genes, that guy, I'll tell you. Scalia, he's got the Scalia genes, right? We all know what that means.
Thank you so much for that.
I mean, when does it stop?
We're going to have to close it up.
The best podcast in the universe.
Adios, mofo.
Dvorak.org/NA.
Where's my tip?